It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the show we talk about absolutely nothing. Jason Snell is here, Andy Ihnatko, Alex Lindsay. We're kind of in that dead period with not a lot of new Mac news, but breaking news, breaking story, the HomePods, the new ones, still leave a ring on your furniture. That and a whole lot more. We're actually going to have a lot of fun next on MacBreak Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 855, recorded Tuesday, January 31st, 2023. So good, you'll want to listen at 1x. MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by Fastmail. Reclaim your privacy, boost productivity, and make email yours with Fastmail. Try it free for 30 days at fastmail.com/twit. Fastmail is also giving TWiT listeners a 15% discount in the first year when you sign up today. Thanks for listening to this show. As an ad-supported network, we are always looking for new partners with products and services that will benefit our qualified audience. Are you ready to grow your business? Reach out to advertise@twit.tv and launch your campaign now. It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the show we cover the latest news from Apple, of which there is precious little, but that's okay because we've got the best team of BSers in the business. Now, who do I start with? Wait a minute. You see the three, the wonderful Andy Ihnatko, WGBH Boston. It's great to see you, Andrew, in your Red Sox cap, getting ready for pitchers and catchers to report.
Yes, so long as just keep your knees and ankles healthy. The golf is not that important in Florida. That's
Good point.
It's now been a few years between like World Series championships or like pennants. So we got used to it, which was our fault. But we would like to see some performance.
I love it after the World Series in October. You look at all these teams saying, "Well, they're going fishing and hunting." They got till February.
I thought you talk. This is why sportscasters make all the money. There was like I think the Pirates were like playing like this dismal game, and the commentator, who I think was the local commentator, was saying, "And that's September baseball for the Pittsburgh Pirates."
That's it. It's over. Bye. Speaking of Pittsburgh, here he is, our own Pittsburgh native. Were you rooting for the Eagles on Sunday, Alex Lindsay?
I have to admit, I wasn't really rooting for anybody. I have to admit, being here in San Francisco, I was rooting for the 49ers.
Good man.
I was like, and I felt bad.
It was a heartbreaker.
It was just, that's probably one of the hardest games to watch that I've seen in a long time, where you make it all the way there and then you're just limping along. And there's nothing you can do. It's like
Don't tell anybody, but I was watching during Ask the Tech Guys and TWiT. We had a big screen off to the right, and I might have been a little bit distracted at certain moments. Alex, of course, is officehours.global and 090.media, and with us also from sixcolors.com, the marvelous Jason Snell.
Leo, when it's a slow news week, we can talk about puzzles we've done, tell anecdotes.
How's your Wordle?
Well, I was going to say there was famously, because it went viral, a Giants radio broadcast with John Miller and Dave Fleming, who are both spectacularly good radio broadcasters. Yeah. And it went viral because they were just discussing the rules of Wordle during an inning. And
that's
like
baseball in a nutshell.
That's masterful, just masterful stuff. It's like that. So, Dave, do I guess all at once? No, John. You get two different colors. Well, what do the colors mean, Dave? Well, John, one means you got the letter, but it's not in the right place, and the other means you got it and it is in the right place. Now, can I just keep guessing? Well, no, John. You only get 5 guesses. 6 guesses. 6 guesses. Yeah.
My daughter and I could discuss Wordle in the evening. We're like, how many did you do it in? And she'll be like there was 2 days ago, she did 6 and I hadn't done it yet. I was like, I got to try it. I was like, 6. But my daughter took 6. I was like, it's going to be hard. I got 5, but I was like,
that is hard.
Accomplished.
Yeah.
It was, because I usually,
I was mentioning, Lisa and I used to do it last thing before we went to sleep. We would cuddle up and do Wordle. That those days are gone. She now does it first thing in the morning. And I always know, because she'll come over, she'll sidle up to me and she'll say, 2. She says, why don't you try? She's a little competitive. Although we have a debate, and I think I'm right, of course. She will guess when she's got enough, and there's like 3 possibilities. She'll guess the most common word, the most, as if it were more likely. And I think it's pretty random. I think any word that works is equally, they're going to be equally likely. Am I wrong?
I find that they're usually the most common.
Really?
They like rub it in your nose that if you get to 6 and when you get
so
it,
they're
you're like,
doing a little.
Really?
They're doing.
I mean, it feels like it's always relatively common. I don't feel like I when I find most words, I don't find that I go, oh, that was really abstract.
Well, they don't
Like
do
it's a
abstract
pretty
words.
common word.
But,
Exactly.
for instance, a couple of days ago, the possibilities were flirt or shirt. I knew it was IRT. And, she might say, well, go with shirt. That's more common. But so I don't know if there's that much. I don't know. Now we see we're doing what Miller did. We're doing. It's
Now you don't have to pay for the Wordle.
It's all
you
about.
do have to pay for the Wordle bot.
It's at the 5th inning, and the score is 3-3, and there's really nothing
fastball
much to
high,
say.
2-2 now.
Pitchers and catchers next month, right, Jason? I think I'm right on that.
Yeah, I think it's well, it's almost next month now, right? This is the last day of January, so yeah, we're almost in baseball. Spring
Thank God, because
weekend.
basically it's over for our football. So.
I'm from Pittsburgh. We have nothing to look forward to.
Oh gosh,
good hot dogs and a really good ballpark. That's
Hey,
what you get to look forward to.
You know what? That's a pretty a cold beer on a summer afternoon with a good hot dog, and the game just kind of stretches out into eternity. That's baseball.
Here's the secret.
The dull roar of the crowd as you nod off.
I had a discussion with a basketball team. Someone who does. I was at the arena. We were working with the basketball team. Made NBA, and they don't win very often.
No.
And it was packed. It's packed, and people are having a great time. I was like, "How do you do this?" And he goes, "Well, the secret is that the bad teams are actually better to go to see because when a team is consistently bad, they have to." Everything else has to work. So they do all these other things to get the crowd excited. So, and he said, and if you want to see a winning team, even if they're going to crush your home team, that's the time to go see that winning team. Like if you want to go see the Lakers or see the Heat or whatever is the one that is, I don't know anything about basketball, but he said, you see it there because they're firing, they're firing T-shirts into the crowd.
Yeah.
They're firing like the Pirates have a hot dog cannon, which I never did have. They literally go down the side and they're
Joey,
they're like
snag
firing.
that hot dog like it was.
They are firing hot dogs, like cooked hot dogs into the crowd. And it's and they have all these. So the teams that don't win very much, they invest in a good stadium and they or a good and a good the PNC Park is probably one of the top 5 stadiums in
for sure
around and so it's a great place to go and hang out, as you said, Leo. Have a beer, have a hot dog, hang out with your family or friends, and watch the game. And you just have to not care about it. It's because they're not going to win.
You don't have to pay any attention to the 8th inning, and then you can.
Yeah.
So our top story today: big news. The new HomePod 2nd generation does in fact still leave white rings on wood furniture. Boy, I covered that one. I tell you what.
It's big news day.
Big news day when that's the top story of the day. Are you getting those, Jason, to review?
I don't. I probably need to ask. I was not on the review program for that. I suspect if I asked, they might send me one, so I should probably do that. Sounds like they sound good, though. I mean, the concern was that when they made them cheaper, or reduce the number of tweeters and things, that they were going to sound worse than the over-engineered 1st generation, but it sounds like they don't. According to the reviewers, they sound pretty good. So
too
that's great.
Fewer tweeters, too fewer microphones, but they've added a humidity and temperature sensor. Well, there you go. And apparently a better processor. We know it's a better processor because Siri is responding faster. And some people are saying it certainly sounds no worse. Let's put it that way. Although I like
Right.
Marquez Brownlee's 2-word review. Apple HomePod 2 review. I'm confused.
Yeah.
I guess his point is, what's the point? They canceled it because it was so expensive. Although when they canceled it, it was the same price as they brought it back at, $300. I did, I ordered 2 because I don't want they're not going to give me a loaner, and I wouldn't ask for one. So I ordered 2. We'll do it when we get it. Valentine's Day, it's coming. I'll bring it in for Ask the Tech Guys, and we'll do a review of it as a stereo pair and all of that. But apparently there's an ambient microphone for sensing room ambience, so it might be a little bit better. Alex, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm excited. I bought so many Mac Minis that I need to wait now to buy something else. But eventually I'm going to buy these. And I was kind of bummed because I had one and I didn't get the second one to try to do the stereo. But I really like them. I got the little minis and I did not like them because they ended up in
they're not
somewhere.
Great.
I don't know
I
where
have
they
them
are.
all over the house.
They're not great and they're little and I just was like, oh, I'd rather have the bigger ones. And so but then they weren't available. So I think that I'm probably not the only person that might be that has one. I mean, ours literally runs 6 hours, 8 hours a day of music or talk stuff or whatever, so it's been really useful. I think that I decided I didn't really want Google and Amazon stuff in my house. So I kind of decided I didn't need to be the product. And so I kind of wanted to do something like that. I will admit that some of the, I'll be interested to see how it ties into material, and whether material actually works. I have a dream someday in the future that HomeKit or some kind of home thing will actually work. I can be optimistic.
Dream on.
I know exactly.
In the words of Aerosmith.
Yes. I think that there's a level at which the speakers are good enough. There's a level at which the design of it is good enough as a physical object to have on the countertop. Apple really needs to address HomeKit and make Apple products suck less as when it comes to home automation, because they're not quite sucky, but they can see sucky from here. They're like a 9-iron away. They're just short of the bunker. 1 9-iron and they're right on the green there.
It really Thanks feels for like keeping us in the sports mode, in the golf mode.
Yeah, exactly.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
We're building a pyramid here. We're laying the foundation.
There's some structure. I agree.
Yeah. I feel like they put too much of their money, like a horse race. No, I don't know, on Matter, right? Like Matter. I feel like they're like, okay, Matter's going to solve this, and we're going to do a new a home architecture, and it's going to support Matter, and we're going to do that. And like Matter keeps getting delayed. They tried to roll out the home architecture, and they had to roll it back. Although now they may be rolling it out again soon. And like I don't want to give them full credit for this, because I think the truth is that they have been so slow in the smart home market. But in the last year, it feels like they have made some decisions and they've started in a direction, but they have hung so much of it on this Matter stuff that is just still not quite there. And I think this year is going to be really instructive, right? Because Matter will start to come out and settle down in the next year. And there are some reports that Apple has some other home products in the works that I would love to see that, right? Because that is the question, is they've been behind. I think maybe the last year they've been trying to catch up, but this Matter thing has sort of been a bump in the road. So, we'll see. But it certainly feels like the last year has been all about like, well, just wait until Matter comes out. And the Matter thing has just been much more painful than anybody expected, I think.
And I think that Apple is really good at a lot of things, and working with others is not one of them. And so I think that one of the issues is that to get this really off the ground, I really feel like, and I probably said this before, but I really think Apple should build 5 products. They should build a thermostat. They should build a camera, a light, an outlet, and a door lock. And they just build them. just call it a day. They build them. Yeah. By the way, that's about 90% of the market, right? Are those 5 things. And you just say, we're building all of these, because all the Apple users would immediately just start buying those to do that. And then HomeKit would be a thing, because all the Apple, if Apple built those 5 things, Apple users, like really deep Apple users, would buy those 5 things and wait for everybody to show up at HomeKit. Like they would just be like, I'm not doing it. It would basically block everything else for an Apple user forever. Like they would just simply go, well, I got this stuff, and I'm just going to wait for people to use HomeKit, rather than all of us would stop. I mean, all of us that are really like hardcore, like Mac only, would stop even looking at everybody else's stuff. If it didn't say HomeKit and really be HomeKit, no one would even bother anymore.
But that ship has sailed, Alex. HomeKit is over. HomeKit is Matter. Matter is HomeKit. Yeah. Everything in the future is going to be Matter, but that doesn't stop Apple from making good. I agree with you that it doesn't stop Apple from getting into this area. In fact, it feels to me, somebody just asked in our IRC about making Wi-Fi routers, and Apple stopped doing that. And it was an era in the mid 2000s, or 2010, something weird happened at Apple where they're like, let's just stop making accessories. Let's stop making displays. Let's stop making Wi-Fi. We're just not going to bother. And in hindsight, I think it was a mistake, right? Like they let the Eros and Orbis of the world kind of make the product that should have been the next generation airport product. And I agree, like a thermostat, some other small products. I think that there's some opportunities. A sound bar that is literally a HomePod and an Apple TV. And a camera put together. They have all the tech. They have all the software. Like there's a bunch of products out there. A kitchen-ish sort of thing with a speaker and a display, like the Echo Show or the Google Nest Home. Right? Like there are some opportunities. They don't have to do them all, but they haven't done anything other than these speakers and the Apple TV, and it is weird. It's weird.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I would love to. I don't think Apple could ever do that and really pull it off in a way that would make most even Apple freaks happy, because the great thing about home automation, if there is a great thing about it, is the idea of being at Home Depot and choosing between like two different home heating systems and saying, hey, great, the controller for one of these actually will actually work natively with A, B, and C, and I have A and B. If Apple were to be in the position where, oh, well, we were hoping that you'd buy your home heating system at an Apple store. No, I'm not going to do that. And when you're in a situation where it's an esoteric thing, but I really want my curtains to be open and closed, like according to workflows that I make and other things. And oh, well, we don't make one that actually works well with that. But hey, look at this light bulb we sell for $8 more than what you can buy almost any other bulb for. I think you'd have to be a real Apple zealot to say, I'm satisfied with Apple saying, no, we refuse to build things based on standards. We refuse to put ourselves out that way to make things easier and give the customers more choices. Although I do agree with the idea that it's always nice when there's something that Apple, at least you can always tell when Apple, some engineers at this company, they got like the 2-month like hotel room in Cupertino, and they were making regular trips into the spaceship campus. They got special access to make sure that their hardware worked extremely well, because you always tell the ones that were blessed by Apple, even though they weren't made by Apple. So you always want to have that in the lineup. But the only thing that always disappoints me about Apple is that they're really great. They've proven they're really great when they control the entire widget, the entire flow from start to finish. They're not so great when it's like, yes, but what if I don't want to use Apple headphones? Can you make it work with that? So that's my reaction. And
I think that the issue is that I think it's part of this. This folds back into why I like Apple to just have the Apple Store and everything else, is because everybody else just dorky things. Like they just do all these home automation is just dorky, like it's all weird ways to pair it and weird ways to do all this other stuff. And you're just like, dudes, like, why don't you just fix this? And I'm used to just being able to, like, with an Apple product, this goes here. Oh, you want to trade Wi-Fi, you want to sign in, you want me to load all this stuff in, you want to make all this stuff go. And the thing is that, and Apple has, I will argue, almost never succeeded. They always want to open up the market to third parties, and they try not to get in the way by building their own products. Like, I think iBooks was a huge disaster because of this, because they didn't really push down and build real content that took advantage of what the platform could do. They just asked Pearson to do something, and Pearson, just put out stuff that comes out of the back of a horse. And so the issue is then you ended up with no imagination. I think Apple has to take that first step, and I don't think I don't know. I've been trying to get home automation to work for 20 years, and I'm now just waiting. I'm just waiting to like see, like I'm bristled and frustrated. And
again, a lot of the things that are the promise of Matter, right? The idea that you have these controllers that are running, that they can talk to one another. The promise of Matter, the theory of Matter, is it is HomeKit taken to the next level, and anybody can buy in, right? It's not Apple specific. It is Google behind it and Amazon behind it. Like, everybody's behind it. The problem is it just hasn't happened yet. For whatever reason, everything is slow to market. But like, the dream is that this is all going to get better, because the underlying structure of Matter is intended to solve a lot of the problems we've seen in this first generation of home standards. The problem is, again, where is it? I would like to see it. And yeah, there are categories, I think, where Apple could contribute, not something that would box out other people by being incompatible, because I think that ship has sailed with Matter, but by making a product that has some nice extra stuff in it that makes it worth spending more money, because that is sort of the Apple deal. And would that be a Wi-Fi router, or would that be a sound bar or something like that? I think those are places where they can add a little extra, charge a lot extra, and sell a lot to people who are drifting through an Apple store at their local shopping center. And that's the business model, right?
Yeah. I would love to see them make a Wi-Fi router, because that is so well placed for their for how they describe themselves. The idea of not only having home networking that works really, really extremely well, that's just you plug it in and it goes, as well as any networking device can be plug and play. On top of everything else, the power of a router to protect every computer inside that house from adware, from ad tracking, from marketing, from everything. I have a pie hole on my network that simply says, "Hey, look, here's a list of constantly updated domain names for addresses for marketing companies that track your behavior online. Just block every single thing that comes through those portals. It just simply never reaches any device inside the house." Imagine something like that, only it's not really tricky to set up. It doesn't feel like a form of magic in order to do. It's just an Apple product, and it's a switch that is on by default that you would only turn off if you find the one thing that doesn't work anymore. And then there's an easy way to make an exception for that. That's only one thing you can do if you create like the golden router that solves so many problems that pop up and then just absolutely kill your entire day. Apple's in a really good position to fix that. I'd love to see them do a router.
Yeah, I've wasted lots of pixels and lots of bytes and lots of places writing columns about that, Andy, over the last few years. And I agree with you. I think it goes straight to Apple's desire to be seen as a privacy company, right? To say ease of use, put this in there. It would allow them to potentially do things like, if not straight up VPN, to put private routing and private relay and all of those things built in there, and say, you can trust us. We're gonna protect you from all this stuff, and maybe some pie hole style ad blocking as well. Like they could really gum up the works in a delightful way if they wanted to. And although Eero and Orbi sort of obviously made the product that Apple would have made if they had made a product in 2016, 2017, 2015. They didn't, but that's still out there. The idea that you could put mesh networking in different Apple products as well to spread them throughout your house. Like, I still think there's probably an opportunity there for them to do something. I just wish they had thought of it 5 years ago. But I think Apple in 2015 was in a real weird place where they just decided they were not going to bother with any ancillary products. And I think the display is a great example where they had to say, okay, that was a mistake. And I think for Wi-Fi, I think it was a mistake too.
Yeah. Do you think Apple's still influenced by Steve Jobs' magic quadrant? When he came back to Apple, they had so many SKUs, and he just cut it down to home and business, portable, and desktop.
But that was for the Mac, right?
That was the Mac.
Jobs came out with the airport.
I feel like he always said, say no more often than you say yes. I feel like he had this kind of idea of purity. When I worked at McDonald's way back in the day, there were people who came in. I know. This is good, right?
We got time.
Yeah,
we got time.
Tell us the story.
When I worked at McDonald's back.
What was on the menu then?
There were people who came in and said, "Why don't you do, a roast beef sandwich?" Or they had all these ideas. And seriously, in that day, it's changed a little bit, but the idea was, no, you want a very small number of products that you can make well with minimal training and minimal equipment. But you get the menu too complicated, then you can't keep quality control. And I think that there's a reason for that. Why do you think, though, Apple doesn't do? I mean, a router and a sound bar all built around Matter kind of makes sense. And then Alex's idea of and a thermostat, the lock, the four big, home automation products. That seems like that would be something Apple could do quite well.
I think that really the idea is Apple knows that once they go in and take away 80% of the market, 90% of the market, it's hard to get other people to congeal around them. So the idea is like, we can't build everything. So let's just build a platform that people can integrate, because we don't want to necessarily get into the smaller business. we don't want to necessarily do this, but we want to make it available to our users, but we don't want to take it over. And I will admit that if they took the 5 things that I listed, that's like 80-90% of the home automation market. They would literally they would fill out that. And then the question is, can you attract? You'd have to be betting on the fact that a lot of people are going to buy into that, because if not enough people buy into it, then that market's dead, because it's all closed, and they're self-contained because they have most of what they need. So I think that Apple, and I feel like the same thing they did with iBooks, same thing they've done a couple other times, where they try to go, we're going to nurture the market forward, but they didn't nurture it enough, or and that's I think that I hope when we look at AR, for instance, that Apple looks at what Epic's doing, which is the mega grants, and really leans into that, because Unity and Unreal were equal, and then Epic said, hey, we can spend $100 million, at a time, not even a guarantee there's only $100 million, but $100 million at a time to, engage people to build something. I don't think Apple really did that. They don't want to pay to other people to develop for them, and that becomes problematic.
Yeah. I think it's a combination of things. I think that what Leo said has some influence on Apple culture, where they do like to have a streamlined product line. I think that it becomes problematic when you start to compete with when you create a router. It's really going to be difficult to educate people on, here's why our $200 router is better than the $90 router you can get at Home Depot, or you can get at Best Buy or any place else. That's hard. That's hard to. You have to. It's not that there's no differences between them, but you have to really make sure you communicate those really, really clearly. But more than that, I think that actually this hits back on the HomePod. Apple famously, they have a very, very limited amount of bandwidth, like for focus on products. They don't. I think one of the reasons why the HomePod was canceled and had to be revived is because it just had to be backburnered for time after time after time, cycle after cycle. It could not get the love and the iteration that it would have gotten had Apple had the principle of, nope, guess what? Congratulations, you get your own building on the campus. You are the HomePod unit. Make the best one you can. Here's the budget for it, and just keep coming back at us. I think that part of the problem is that they just don't have, for good or bad. And I think right now we're seeing the good of it, that they don't have, that they're not bringing in all these teams they have to then lay off in a bad economic downturn, but they don't have the amount of bandwidth to create that many different product lines and give them all the love that they would need in order to thrive and survive.
Somebody in the chat room said, the Airport Extreme was an audio device. We forget that it had an audio.
It was
jack.
an AirPlay out as well. I think, I suspect that in that moment where they killed the Airport, that what they were really saying is that they didn't have a vision for why that category needed anything, because it was a commoditized product, and a lot of cable modems they all had Wi-Fi then, and it's like, well, why wouldn't you use that? And it's funny because about, a few years later, it became clear, I think, why you actually would want to make that product. And that's when Eero and Orbi came out, because you don't want to trust your cable company's routing. Their Wi-Fi is probably not good enough. The whole idea of a mesh network to extend your Wi-Fi and have it be better and faster, they missed the cycle, because they were not wrong. In that moment, it really did feel like Wi-Fi was just a commodity, and it was going to all be in your cable router, and who cared? And that was right at the time, but wrong soon thereafter. And it's just kind of a funny thing. I think they were looking for projects to, as Andy said, projects to throw overboard, to say with some discipline, right? Like, we don't need to make this product just because we made it in the past. The world has got this thing down to a science. We don't need to be here. Because the reason they made Airport in the first place was that they had Wi-Fi before most other companies did, and they wanted a first-class Wi-Fi solution, right? But that time had passed, so that's why they got out of it, unfortunately.
They wanted their customers to have a really good experience when there were very few routers, Wi-Fi routers available back when
for that
every
iBook,
single laptop did. Yeah, so yeah.
I really do wonder why they're not listening to us. This reminds me of, and I always skip by these on Reddit, in the Mac subreddit and the iOS subreddit. There's always people who have my new design for how the system preference pane should look. And I skip by it. It's like, dream on, dude. Nobody at Apple is checking Reddit to see what your design for the next MacBook Pro should be. It's a fantasy. I don't think Apple's listening to MacBreak Weekly for new product ideas.
I think they do listen, but they listen to criticism of what they're doing. They don't take requests, right? That's not what they
there
do.
you go.
They don't
Take
say
requests. That's it.
So they're going to listen. If you say, you know what, I think the new system settings app on the Mac sucks, and here are my many reasons, they are listening to that. They absolutely are listening to that.
Yep.
What they are less interested in is your redesign of the system settings app. They have people whose job it is to
train
it's a classic. It's a classic design thing. I mean, this was like when I was the editor at Macworld, I had an art director, and like I wouldn't tell him how to design the cover.
Right.
I'd give him sort of like input about like, here are the things that would be good and here are the things that would be bad. Now you, as a professional, take all that in and don't give me, if I say like make the font big, like take away from that I want it to be prominent, but don't take the details because I don't know the details. You're the professional. And so that's the level at which Apple, I think, does listen to generally, maybe not us in particular, but us as the world outside of Apple, is about like the details of what people are complaining about, not how to solve them. Right? Like that's not what they're looking for.
And like your designer, Apple has all sorts of constraints that we're not aware of, from manufacture to design to cost. I mean, there's all
Jason,
sorts
that
of
color
stuff,
doesn't
supply
print.
chain. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, but the printers can't do magenta.
They can't.
Thanks for the suggestion. See ya. It reminds me of my days when I was a DJ in radio. And every radio station says, call us with your requests. And it's the worst. The worst nightmare for a DJ is people, because at some of the stations I had to answer. You'd be answering the phone during your show. There'd be phone lines. You were supposed to record. You remember this, Alex? You're supposed to record them,
card them up,
and then you say, "Hey, it's John from Fresno. I'd really like to hear the Doobie Brothers. Don't Stop Believing." But the problem is that the people at home don't know.
Doobie Brothers, but okay.
What did I say?
That's Journey.
Don't stop believing. Yeah. What's the Michael McDonald one? I can't stop believing. Anyway, it's anyway, that's the point. You might ask for the Doobie Brothers. Don't Stop Believing, but I can't play it. And there's also
soon with AI.
There's also a playlist that I am following. There's no room for requests on the playlist.
I suggest you request something that's on the top 40.
Just ask for something I have in front of me. But that's why you record them and you play them back to pretend you're taking requests.
You played the song that was already in the rotation.
Yeah,
like you just look at find one that pops in there. Soon with AI though, you will be able to say, I'd like the Doobie Brothers singing "Don't Stop Believing."
You can. Did you send me? It was you who sent me Ariana Grande singing a Billie Eilish song.
Yeah, exactly. So soon you won't have to wait. You can mismatch all of those things, and you'll just get a song.
I can't. Don't stop believing.
Keep forgetting. No. You don't know me, but I'm your brother.
Isn't there? Wait a minute. Am I doing a little Sinbad thing? Wasn't there a Doobie Brothers song about believing? Am I wrong? I must be wrong.
I'm sure on the Doobie you believe a lot of things, man.
Yeah, exactly.
What a Fool Believes. Was that it? I think it's What a Fool Believes.
What a Fool believes. That's what I. Oh, thank you for making me not such an idiot. Okay.
So the song would be "Don't Stop Believing Like a Fool."
What a fool believes.
What a fool doesn't stop believing.
Don't stop believing.
Anyway, the Wordle, it's 5 letters long.
But what do the colors mean, Jason? What do the colors mean?
Yeah, see,
Leo, there are 2 colors.
There's the prime golden gilded like aspirational example of this is on Channel 38 WSBK in Boston. Every Saturday there used to be a show called Ask the Manager, where like the station management would be like at a table on the middle of whatever studio set was still standing, and they would simply like answer questions like sent in by like viewers, normally about, hey, how come when they showed the Three Stooges you showed all Shemps last weekend? And it was appointment television, because I'm not sure they had any belief whatsoever that anybody was watching. I would tune in, and for the first 8 minutes we would like and one and on, and they would be in the middle of a conversation about how to rotate tires, because one of the managers was about to like take their tires in, and they're making diagrams and sharing with each other. Okay, so if I have a spare tire, is the spare tire number 5? So it goes 51421. I swear to God, I did not make this up. This is what that show was, and it was the best television. This is what mega mergers of TV station of broadcast companies. This is what it's cost us. Ask the manager. Doughy, middle-aged UHF television executives arguing with each other.
That's called a podcast. That's just what the podcast is done.
But yeah. But like if you looked at like what would I prefer to watch with the Superbowls coming up, and what would I prefer to watch the Manning brothers without any guests?
Yeah, you talked about this, yeah.
Just geeking out, talking about the Super Bowl, and I would watch that in a heartbeat. Over top, just hanging out, talking to each other, no guests.
Yeah,
it ruins it. But yeah, it'd be fun. So it just the fluidness of it. Since we have
who would we get to do that? Who should? That's a good podcast. Ask the manager. Who would we get to do that? Lisa? Have Lisa do Ask the Manager? Here's why we're never going to do your stupid podcast idea. That? Yeah. I don't know. Maybe not.
It's a call-in show where you take requests and then refuse them. and say why.
You cart them up, and then at the end you go,
No. I'll tell you why. That song doesn't exist. You've conflated a Journey song and a Doobie Brothers song into one song that doesn't exist, and I can't play it.
We're not even at AOR anymore. We can't play that song. That's Almorian rock. We're modern rock now. We can't play Journey. It's outside of our format.
Billy, the intern, broke that record, so we can't play it. Sorry. That's why we never play it. It's
speaking of this,
Billy
by the way,
stepped on it.
I signed up and I got invited to this voice AI place called 11 Labs that was very interesting. Yeah. And have you played with it a little bit? They've actually had some problems because let me play back just so you hear. Oh, I guess I can't. Let's see. I don't know. Anyway, I'm signed up, but they was very good, but they had some problems because 4chan got a hold of it.
Yeah.
And
big surprise.
And they've been using it to create deep fakes, frankly. Emma Watson reading Mein Kampf, for instance.
It's funny because Descript, the podcasting software, has had this for a while, but they make you be on a paid tier to get it. And
do you have the promo from Sunday?
These guys gave it away for free.
We did it with Descript. Anthony Nielsen came in late last week and said, "Would you just read this?" And I read something and I said, "What is this?" I said, "My name is Leo Laporte and I give full permission to use my voice." What are you doing, Anthony? And he used, was it Descript or was it 11? I can't remember what he used, but he used one of those to create a deep fake Leo for our promo. Yeah, it's right at the very beginning. Do you have the promo there? Oh, wait a minute. You know what? I have it in my email because I think Victor
I just put it in our disc. I put one in our Discord if you want to play it.
Oh yeah, let me verify that I, Leo Laporte, like Descript to create an overdubbed version of my voice. Why do you want this, Anthony?
No idea.
Well, hey, it's AI Leo Laporte, the AI tech guy. You'd think I'd pronounce my own name better. This is not Jason. Is this you?
Yeah.
And this was done by whom?
This is 11 Labs.
11.
Looking beyond these particular trees to see the whole forest, the new MacBook Pro models are also the first Macs to be powered by high-end versions of the M2, Apple's second generation.
The only thing missing, there's a little bit in your prosody. That's what they use. They apply prosody, which is your unique voice characteristics, your timbre and your pitch and your intonation, to a synthesized voice, and then get your voice. The only thing missing, there's a little thing you do. The little peak that's missing.
So
it sounds dead.
They have a slider
system on a chip. The laptops
that will take you.
See, when you said
more or less,
when you
said
right? They have a slider. See, I like that's what makes you
slider.
It sounds they have a slider.
M2 Pro
and what did you do to
Max
train
configurations, and those chips differ.
I uploaded about 10 minutes of audio from my the Upgrade podcast yesterday.
It's the easiest thing for us to do.
They don't ask you to say certain things. You don't have to read a certain thing.
It's you just train it on existing content. And it's, again, the slider is the fascinating part, because at one end of this slider, it sounds like this, and it's very monotone. And at the other end, it's crazy. At the other end, it's like,
too much.
And I'm on the radio, and it's like this. And back to you, Jan, right? And so you got to find the right place in the slider where it's got some of that. But it does. I played it for my wife, and she's like, it sounds like you like reading a script,
but a little depressed.
Reading a script,
yeah, a little depressed, like not quite
exactly.
Yeah,
but recognizably, I would say my voice. That's what I would say.
And now here's a little segment from Ask the Manager on TV 38 in Boston.
No, you're right. I said, here. Coincidentally, we have. Isn't it amazing? This isn't even set up. Here's a postcard.
Is it set up or are you being on?
No, great.
Thank you, Hannah. Here, sit there.
You don't need a mic because we're going to be.
He's the manager, the guy in the middle.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Get a question.
Share this microphone.
Oh, is that nice? Thank you very much. This is cozy.
That's Dana Hersey, that's the movie love guy.
The guy fell off his chair.
There might have been two cocktails.
Could there be a cheesier set in your life?
Dana.
This is like a Saturday Night Live skit. Thank you for the Discord for sending us that. Ask the Manager. Dan falls off. Oh, you did it, Dan.
Of course.
I'm sorry. I just looked at the name and it's Ihnatko. Oh, Ihnatko did it.
Ihnatko. Oh, it's Andy's link. Well done.
I have to say, I was interested in 11 Labs. You could use that voice to read your articles. That's what you were doing, and I think that would be fine.
I think, right, like I actually had that moment where I thought, this is good enough that if I wanted to, for accessibility reasons, right, I could make MP3s of the day's posts at 6 colors and put it in a podcast feed, right, with Dan's voice and my voice. Like, I could totally do that, and it would be okay. Like, it would be good enough for you to listen to it in the car or something, even if it wasn't like me narrating it, it would be good enough. And I know this is why Descript does it, is you end up in an environment where you're like working on a radio show or a podcast or something, and the host is gone, and you need one line of bridging dialogue.
Exactly.
Right? And so you generate it and drop it in, and nobody knows the difference. But yes, you can also use it as a deep fake and make people say horrible things, and that's just the world we live in.
Well, and I also think that it's super exciting as someone who only listens to things. Like if anything long form, if it's more than about 500 words, I need to listen to it or I'm not going to get it, And I love the idea that potentially every magazine article in existence, everything out there could be read. That I don't have to sit there and read it. I can just put it on. I can be working on something else and listening to these magazine articles. I think it's great for the writers potentially, and maybe not all writers, to print their voice, so we hear every writer. You hear them speaking their words.
Yeah.
They don't have to sit down and do the recording.
Yeah.
They just write it all out, and they can choose to use their voice or use some other voice that they like or whatever. But the point is that every magazine becoming an audio magazine and every book, Apple's providing that service. I felt bad. I was talking to a friend. There's I was thinking of getting into reading books. And I was like, there's
Now's not the time to get into that.
There's like a marketplace. There's like a marketplace for like smaller book sellers to have people write it.
Yeah.
And I was like,
maybe not.
That shit might have passed like 6 months ago. It was around. It was around for 30 years.
This was my retirement plan. I was going to read audiobooks. Forget that.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe I could just maybe I could, because part of the problem is it's even with a really good reader like Jeff Gerner doing Daniel Suarez books, it's $5,000 a book. That's a lot of work for $5,000. For me, it'd be a month of work, easy. So it's it's kind of not a great income, but if you had an AI do it, maybe I'd license my voice, and then it's easy, right? Easy work.
Well, and I think that again, the highest profile books and magazines are all going to be read by somebody that is reading it and pulling the most out of it. And that's probably going to happen for at least the next 5 years. But the real excitement for me is the long tail. It's all the little things that we right now are listening to pretty bad audio. And I think that pretty soon, we're just going to have something on our iPhone that says, do you just want to read what you see here? And we see that with Dream Reader, I think right now.
Sure.
Yeah, but the big problem is all the bibliography. That's what I run into. It runs into the end of the. If you read research articles, I read like I listened to a 192 page NASA thing, but there was always these breaks for about 5 minutes at a time of all the references.
No, number 2, IBID. Opposite.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh my God,
that's
I'm
not
driving,
good.
so I can't not do it. I just
they could filter that out.
Forward.
Anthony Nielsen's in our Discord. Anthony, when you used my voice for Descript to do that, did you tune down? Was it better than that? And you turned it down so that it would sound more mechanical for the promo? Because I was obviously Leo Laporte was not how I was going to say it. I wonder if it could be more accurate. It sounds like the 4chan, they had Ben Shapiro beating up Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. They had Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty saying, "I'm going to beat my wife, Morty," which is, that's 4chan in a nutshell. But apparently these were so well done. Donald Trump on Epstein Island. These were so well done that it caused problems.
Satire. I will say satire is never seen.
That's true.
That's
true. But that is problematic, isn't it?
I think that it's really important that people don't believe in what they see and hear.
Well, from now on, that's the key, isn't it?
Well, I think just in general.
In general, it's been this way for about 100 years, maybe 200 years, that you shouldn't really believe a single source of anything. But now it's become very clear for us about why you shouldn't believe in any single source. And possibly even multiple sources. You really have to take everything in. That's why we have courts. That's why we have evidence. That's why we have things, because things look very like we see the cell phone footage and then we don't know what the context is. And then we see the context and we're like, oh, okay, this makes more sense. So these, all of these things kind of weigh themselves out, as you go through those things. And so, I think anybody thinking that they know what's happening around them, based on one sound clip or video clip, I think we're erasing that pretty quickly, but it was always a little suspect or a lot suspect. It's just now really obvious.
Yeah. Yeah. Here is 11 Labs, just from their front page, some sample of voices.
The ultimate promise of technology is to make us master of a world that we command by the push of a button.
This is good. It sounds no better. I don't think it sounds any different than the Apple voices we played a couple of weeks ago from there.
And again, if I'm listening to it, I mean, there's
the ultimate promise of technology is to make us master of a world that we command by the push of a button.
Well, but you get to choose.
I would not choose that one.
Yeah,
that was painful.
Yeah, I can't get into 11 Labs, even though I got accepted in the beta now, because I think they're really kind of nervous.
Yeah. But I would totally pay. I mean, this is a service like Descript, right? This is something that, as a professional who does audio, I absolutely would pay for this. The ability to generate a model fairly easily that I can tweak. I mean, obviously, the really good professional text-to-speech stuff, you can actually put in little notes in the text and punctuation that changes the voice. So you could get it to be really, really, really good. I definitely think there's a professional product here, as well as just a screwing around on the internet product.
Here Anthony put in the 2 different versions. He said actually 11 Labs was a little bit better, but still not good. This is Descript, which is, by the way, we should mention what Descript. Tell us what Descript does, Jason.
It's so good. So Descript is a combination of different features, right? So it is a speech to text engine, and it is a podcast editing tool. And so what you do is you upload your audio, and instead of it being a traditional linear editor like Logic or Audition, it brings up a word processing document, essentially. And I use this for my in 2020, I did the 20 Macs for 2020 project, where it was a podcast that was like super edited, and I did a bunch of interviews. And the way that I made that show is I took quotes from the interviews in Descript. I'd run them all through, and I copied and pasted them in. And when you copy the text or edit the text, the underlying audio is edited too. So you can edit a whole podcast not by editing audio clips, but by removing words and moving things around in like a Microsoft Word document, essentially, except it's actually audio underlying it. And then when all of that, you can also tighten it up. They have a little linear editor, nonlinear editor you can look at, and you can tighten it up. You can also do what I did, which is just export it out and then finish it in Logic or Audition after it's done the heavy lifting. Couldn't have done that project without it. It is amazing. You can absolutely, I was so skeptical And there are some things that are not perfect that you need to tweak, but you can get a podcast 98% of the way there just by editing text like you're in a text editor.
I'll tell you, it's funny. We launched TWiT 18 years ago. And at the time, I was doing all the editing myself, and I would spend hours sometimes working on a TWiT trying to get it usable. And had these tools been here, I don't know if TWiT would have the same look and feel with all the staff that we have, because it's just a different world now. Here's Anthony gave me, this is Descript's version of my voice.
I, Leo Laporte of Sound Mind, think Anthony should get a raise.
Oh, Anthony, let's see the 11 Labs version.
This episode of Ask the Tech Guys is brought to you by 8 Sleep. Good sleep is the ultimate game changer, and the pod cover is the ultimate sleep machine.
It's kind of...
You sound like you're in your 20s.
Yeah,
like you haven't really found yourself yet. You're still. It has the resonance yet, but it's kind of like when you get started in radio, you don't have
this just hasn't broken you hot yet, Leo.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds
Actually,
like.
when I started in radio, my mom used to say, "You sound like your voice is full of helium." It's because I don't know why, but I thought you're supposed to talk like this on the radio.
It still has that optimism without that dash of pessimism and resignation.
Oh, that's it. I got the it needs a cynicism dial to turn up turn up the cynicism a little bit, and we'll be okay. Let's take a little break. When we come back, we'll break your heart even further. We're going to go to the rumor section. I think you probably know what's coming next. But before we do that, I do want to tell you about the email program that I've used for more than a decade. I have been using Fastmail more than 10 years, I think. And what happened was, for a long time, I was on, like most of us, on Gmail. And I thought, oh, it's good, it's free, yeah, blah, blah. And I started to realize, I'm seeing ads. I don't know exactly if I trust Google with my email. It doesn't have all the tools I want. I was getting more and more dissatisfied with Gmail. That's when I found Fastmail, and my life changed. Free email is not free. You pay with your privacy. For over 20 years, Fastmail has been a leader in email privacy. Privacy first. At Fastmail, your data stays yours. Better productivity features. Really, it is much more usable. Starts as little as $3 a month. Because at Fastmail, you're the customer, not the product. All Fastmail data, you'll be glad to know, stored in the U.S. Fastmail is fully GDPR compliant. They offer some really nice features, which I love. For instance, if you use Bitwarden, our other sponsor, you can use Fastmail for obscured email addresses when you create new logins. So every login, every account you log into has, of course, a unique password, but also a unique login, a unique email address. But it still works because Fastmail lets you create these addresses automatically using 1Password or Bitwarden. So that's just another way to add to security. Another way Fastmail really serves you and your privacy. Masked email protects your personal data because you can create multiple addresses when you sign up. I have a different website address for every site I've signed up to. Privacy is not all, though. You can customize your workflow. They've got a great webmail interface. Really, really nice. Custom swipes, colors. They've got night mode. So you really will feel like, I can use the webmail. And I do often. In fact, I have it pinned almost all my browsers. But then it also, because it's real IMAP, not Google's pseudo IMAP. It's real IMAP. You can use it with any email client, and it works beautifully. The anti-spam protection in Fastmail is second to none. And if you are a more sophisticated user, they use Civ behind the scenes, an open source scripting language that you can use to really control your email. I have a long Civ script that I've been working on and using over the decade to improve. And now my email classification is flawless. It's fast. It's easy. It happens in the inbox. Whenever I log in from any email client or on the web, it's all done for me. Desktop, mobile. They have a great mobile app. I love the Fastmail app. You're going to get the most out of your email. And because they use an open source server, Cyrus, and they contribute back to the open source community. In fact, Fastmail has done a lot to improve email for all of us. You're working with a company that really cares about this ecosystem. U.S.-based support team. They're not just reading a notebook. They're email experts. When you reach out, they will put you first, and they will help you because Fastmail believes in working for customers as people to be cared for, not products to be exploited. Advertisers, sorry, you're out in the cold. You and your privacy are at the center. I use Fastmail because it checks every single box, works great with every email program. Of course, Mac Mail and Apple Mail on the iOS platform, but it also has, it works with all kinds of weird. I use MailMate, works really nicely with MailMate. Fastmail is the only way to go. I have used every email service out there, and Fastmail's the one. In fact, I just signed up for another 3 years. I do it 3 years at a time because I know I'm never moving. Fastmail, it's easy to download your old data and import it into your new Fastmail inbox. You can actually, I have it still gathering email from Gmail, from multiple Gmail accounts. All goes into my inbox, and with all those fancy filters you can create. They have a point-and-click way, very easy way to make filters. I never have to worry about getting my Gmail mixed in with my real mail, but I still get it. I still know it's there. New internet standards supported by Fastmail for authentication are rapidly being adopted globally, worldwide. That's how good they are. Hey, it's a new year. It's a new you. Let's do some new email with Fastmail. Reclaim your privacy, boost your productivity, make email yours with Fastmail. Try it free for 30 days. Fastmail.com/twit. I actually use them for DNS for most of my websites too, because that way I automatically get great email services along with the website. Fastmail.com/twit. Right now, you get a 15% discount on your whole first year if you sign up today. Please do that address to fastmail.com/twit. Every time I talk about Fastmail, I hear from people, real email experts, who say, "Oh yeah, that's the only email. It's the only way to go." I see that all the time on Hacker News and elsewhere. Oh yeah, use Fastmail. It's like the early days of Google, where John C. Dvorak would test people and see how geeky they were. He said, "What search engine do you use?" And if they said Excite or Alta Vista, he'd go. Pfft. Now, if you say Gmail or worse, Yahoo or AOL, you can really rank people's expertise. But if they say Fastmail, I know. They know what they're doing. You should be using it. Fastmail. Make email yours. Fastmail.com/twit. And we thank them. I've been plugging Fastmail for years. Glad to finally get him on as an advertiser. Don't tell them that, though, because they probably get the free plugs no matter what. Let's talk real quickly about what's not going to happen. A folding iPad. Ming-Chi Kuo said in 2024, folding iPads, to which Mark Gurman immediately tweeted, not hearing anything about a folding iPad in 2024. He does say there will be some exciting new iPad designs next year. OLED iPad Pros, entry-level, and a mini spec bump. We do need to update the mini, and I love the mini. That should be updated. As I wrote before, 2023 will be a light year for the iPad and watch, but nothing about folding. Although this is a weird rumor. The foldable iPad with carbon fiber kickstand. That's Ming-Chi Kuo's speculation. Ross Young also tweeted. I have his tweet somewhere. Where is it? No, that's all my tweets are confusing me. Here we go. Ross Young, have heard about a 20.5-inch foldable notebook for 2025, but nothing about a foldable iPad for 2024. Maybe this is just good PR for the Hinge company. maybe Ming-Chi Kuo was talking to the Hinge folks. I have to say, I've used foldable. I used the Galaxy Fold, the Flip. I've used a variety of foldables. I don't think foldable screens are really ready for prime time. They're not as good as real screens. I like the Flip phone because it's kind of small. You can put it in your pocket and open it up to a normal size. But honestly, it's a gimmicky thing. I'm not surprised to hear this. I can't imagine. I'm surprised Apple would consider foldables of any kind.
It's intriguing though. Every time I love my 12.9-inch iPad Pro, but every time I put it in my bag, I really wish that if I could fold it in half and just make it just something that's about the size of a normal iPad or an iPad Mini. Oh my God! Would I, even if there were a tiny crease in the middle, I might even consider it. But yeah, you're right. Right now there isn't the compelling enough reason for the extra expense, and also the jury's still kind of out on the longevity of those kind of devices. But I love what's happening in Windows space with this sort of stuff. Every time I try a really interesting concept of a foldable, I think, oh, I hope this technology matures, because I would enjoy having a device like this that I wouldn't worry that, gee, I'm spending $1,200 extra for a notebook that's going to last maybe 3 years, not quite so long.
And I'm excited about folding. I just don't think it's coming anytime soon.
Not really.
I think it's a solid 3 or 4 years. And I will say I have some friends that have the foldable Samsung, and it still looks like they use it every day, and it opens up and it looks good. And I'm like, okay, well, this might work. But if Apple did it before 2025 or 2026, I'd be pretty surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to think about, like, why would you do this? Like, what is the reason for this? And the best thing I've come up with is it's an iPad that is its own magic keyboard. Like, it's a nice big iPad, and then if you fold it into a laptop configuration with a kickstand, you can now use it in that kind of like the bottom part becomes a keyboard and a pointing device, and the top part is still the apps running. But that's so esoteric, and you're going to charge a fortune for it, and I don't know about that. And then the other idea is what Andy said. You could fold it in half, but the question there is it usable when you fold it in half? Because most of these things have discovered that you want it to be an innie and not an outie, right? So you want to kind of fold it in on itself. That means that now either it's nothing when it's closed, or you have to put another screen on the back. And are you really going to put another screen on the back that turns it into an iPad mini? I don't
need it to work when it's closed. I think it protects the screen. It protects the screen. And it's something.
Right. That's a choice. Is that it's just then what your benefit is just that when you're not using it, you can fold it away to protect it. Is that enough? And it's hard for me to to see it.
As a proud owner of cargo pockets on like half of my pants, it'd be pretty cool.
But it's really, really interesting. If the technology were mature enough that Apple would want to go for it all the way, the idea of, yes, you're right. For me, just the idea of having it a full-size 12.9-inch screen that is more easily totable than something that doesn't fold, that in itself would be a win. But if they also added it so that it doesn't just fold flat, it also folds to like 200 degrees, 220, 230 degrees. So now I can have sort of a half tablet that's sort of an easel sort of display.
Yep.
That would be interesting too. If I could also have a third way where I can fold it in half, but now because it's an intermediate fold, it's being interpreted as like a book with a left screen and a right screen. Yep. If that sort of thing, if Apple or any other company really pulled that off and actually got developers to get behind it and support it, now you're starting to get me wondering, gee, I was going to spend $3,000 on like a really nicely tricked out MacBook Pro. Maybe, I don't know. I love the idea of hardware that changes itself to suit whatever situation you're in at the moment. We saw that revolution when we had user interfaces that could be completely glass, that could totally reconfigure themselves on the iPhone screen. You don't have to have physical call and answer buttons. You don't have to have physical QWERTY keys on the thing. It could reconfigure itself based on the task that the app actually wants to help you out with. Physical conformity to that sort of thing would be a really intriguing trick, and I'd love to see it happen. I don't think it'll happen anytime soon, though.
As for the concept of the folding laptop, I mean, a laptop is a folding laptop, right? Like it already is. That.
Yeah, but we're talking a single screen across the whole.
I think that's it. And who's to say that? Okay, Ming-Chi Kuo's sources are in the supply chain. He says that this is
so are Ross Young's. He's a display supply chain guy.
And then Ross Young says a foldable laptop, and it's like, well, they're probably seeing the same thing, right? And the idea here, what is this? What OS does this run? We talked about touchscreen MacBook Pros, and we talked about would those be very conservative, or would Apple make a convertible? The fact that all of these things had the same chips in them, it might be hard to tell whether you're looking at an iPad or a laptop, if it's something that is basically designed to be flat like an iPad and also fold and turn into something in a laptop shape.
Lenovo we don't have to guess, because Lenovo makes a ThinkPad X1 Fold that is exactly that. It has a big screen and unfolds.
And a touch screen that is also the keyboard and pointing area, right?
Yeah,
when you're in laptop
it's kind of a weird.
It's super weird, right?
Yeah.
I mean, although we shouldn't
like
say
it's
that Apple
gimmicky.
wouldn't do something weird with a keyboard, right?
Right.
But yeah, well, that's the thing about it is like I get that Apple would want to experiment with this, but is this a product that Apple would be like, "Yep, we nailed it. It's going to be great." It's like it seems a little bit weird.
I'm looking at this ThinkPad video. It's got the same problem as the Galaxy Fold, which is those foldable screens are not very good. They're not good. They're not screens you want. They're
and Apple
weird.
takes pride in their screen quality, right?
Look how, when I look at Lisa's M2 14-inch MacBook Pro, that screen is mind-bogglingly good. I mean, it's so good. Last night, she said, you can play with it for 5 minutes. No, she was very generous. She said, make an account on it. You can play with it. Bring it to work. Review it. I said, well, Jason already reviewed it. But I did open up. I went to YouTube immediately and opened up a 4K HDR 120 frame per second video. And it was almost three-dimensional. That screen is so good. You won't get anything like that on a foldable screen. And I don't think Apple wants to. If they're upping the ante on their, you said, Jason, it's the best screen Apple's ever made.
For the Mac, certainly, I think it is for the Mac. I mean, we could debate about like OLED on the iPhone and stuff, but on the Mac, the fact that it's ProMotion, that it's got those mini LED backlighting, so it's not perfect OLED-like, but it's pretty good. It's
that
close.
Black faded
and
away,
super bright.
Yeah,
like it's the best. It's state of the art for a Mac display for sure.
Yeah. So I just. And I don't think folding is going to get better much because it's the nature of the beast. It has to be a soft plastic screen to fold. Well, I mean, you can fold an OLED. OLEDs are just, a thin sheet of material, but
it's just that for years and years and years, like I've been sort of impatient because like with when a design for a laptop for a mobile computer is this static for this long, you have a keyboard and a pointing device on one side of it, you got a hinge, and then you got a screen at the other side of the hinge. It's not a solved problem yet. I think that there's stuff that could be done if both manufacturers, software developers, and users decided to get more adventurous. And it's not necessarily a sin that the three aren't getting together and deciding to head off on that adventure together. It's possible they just want something that's practical, usable, that's exceptional in its own way, that's in this refinement of this old idea. I just think that we're leaving some money on the table here. That there's some great ideas that aren't being really exploited because there are too many people who are going to say, "Oh, that's stupid. Oh, Steve would never have approved something like that," or "Oh, Apple would never make something like that." It's interesting, and I like the idea of it being out there for a crazy 3% of the market to buy, and to be the only 30,000 of these ever made, but these 30,000 that people would never ever trade in a million years.
Are you ready? Let's get back to sports because really, honestly, this should be a sports show.
Finally.
Are you ready? In a week from Sunday, it's Super Bowl LVII, or as I call it, Lovey. Super Bowl Lovey.
Lovey.
It's a Super Bowl Lovey. Rihanna will be the halftime show. And unlike previous Super Bowls, as long as I
think you mean the Apple Music halftime show, Leo.
I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Fortunately, we're on an Apple-based podcast,
so we could tie this right in. Well, it was Pepsi forever, right? I mean,
it
was always Pepsi.
It's called really hard to compete with Apple. If Apple wants, like, how about we just
you think they outbid Pepsi, or Pepsi just said,
"Oh yeah,
we've spent enough on this now"?
I think they walked up to the NFL and they said, "Do you want to continue to sell this sugar water to kids, or do you want to change the world with me?"
They pulled the jobs on them. So
they just pulled up a big wad of $1 million, a million, and they just started flicking $1 million bills off the end and going, "How much does it cost for us to own this?" Like, I just need to know. Yeah.
So, of course, one of the reasons Apple can do that is because they have multiple ways to market this whole dang thing. Press release came out yesterday. They are launching Rihanna's incredible music catalog. You can hear it like never before with spatial audio. And there it is. It's all spatial audio. Plus, there'll be Apple Music Sing, their karaoke with Rihanna. Take the mic on your favorite Rihanna songs to hit those solos, perform duets, sing backup, and more on all compatible iPhone and iPad models, as well as the new Apple TV 4K. Apple Music Radio will be on the ground and in the stands to soundtrack all the festivities If you're a Rihanna fan, I guess this is great news, right? Leading up to Rihanna's big night, special exclusive programming on Apple Music Radio will include Halftime Hype Radio, a 10-part series reflecting on some of the most notable Super Bowl halftime performances of all time. Okay, that might be interesting. Rihanna Revisited Radio, an 8-episode roundtable. If you thought we were overdoing this, wait till you hear Rihanna Revisited Radio, noting the cultural impact of the elusive singer's catalog. And live from Super Bowl Lovey, featuring daily live broadcasts that capture all the excitement in Arizona leading into the weekend with Apple Music Radio hosts Zane Lowe, Ebro Darden, and Nadeska Alexis, who, by the way, Nadeska Alexis is going to interview Rihanna on February 9th at 10 a.m. in the Super Bowl Lovey halftime show press conference. So, and you can watch that on Apple Music's TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter, or on the NFL Network.
And the thing is this is stuff that Pepsi can't do.
No,
like there's
Pepsi doesn't own the number one music store in the world.
Well, not only the number one music store. When you see Zane Lowe coming in, it's the largest radio station in the world.
Is it? Do we know what the numbers are on Apple Radio?
No, they do not publish those numbers.
Yeah, but we don't know if it's the largest radio show in the world. Although it's global, gives it a little bit of a heads up advantage. But I haven't finished.
It is.
There's more. You also can get the NFL team playlists, an official collection of 32 playlists featuring the top songs that each NFL team listens to in the locker room, the weight room, and on game day. Actually, this sounds kind of made up, but the Niners do, when they come on the field, have a giant boombox playing whatever song. So you'll be able to hear warm-up playlists created by Travis Kelce of the Chiefs, Stephon Diggs of the Bills, Trayvon Diggs of the Cowboys, Devontae Adams of the Raiders, and Dak Prescott of the Cowboys. Hey, where's Brock Purdy's playlist? I love you, you love me, we're a happy family. Plus a throwback video playlist revisiting halftime performances from past games. I'd listen to the Prince one. That'd be good. And then it's the Super Bowl halftime show, which I didn't know this, they say is the most watched musical performance of the year. How much do you think they paid for this? Holy camole.
Yeah.
32 playlists from every... What did they send a reporter into each locker room and say, what are you listening to right now? Right now? How about right now?
So, no, they got to... I bet they have to pay for all of that.
Sure.
They're not going to...
Oh, Roger Goodell gives nothing away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wasn't it recently that, or at least a few years ago, that it was spread out that the NFL wanted to felt as though doing the halftime show was such a publicity coup for the performer that they should be paying the NFL a share of their touring royalties for the next year. So yeah, I'm sure they found a way to monetize all of this.
Somebody,
it sounds like a lot. I'm just saying, it sounds like a lot.
Somebody, Fred in the chat room says that Super Bowl Sunday is now and will always be the Janet Jackson Appreciation Day.
Prince bought and locked that entire event, and nobody has ever come close to him. I'm sorry.
Jason, do you have a conflicting opinion? Can we drum up some drama?
Prince, Purple Rain in the Rain during the Super Bowl halftime.
That was amazing.
They at some point they came to him beforehand and they're like, we think it's going to rain. And he said, I hope it rains hard.
I hope it's purple.
He said, can you make it rain more?
Can you make it rain more? That was it. That is right. Can you make it rain more? Great. Just the best.
There have been some great Super Bowl halftime shows. I remember Gaga, leaping off into space with the drones, and
I really liked The Weeknd when he did it. He did that whole thing where he went into the Hall of Mirrors and everything.
That was weird.
I really did.
You liked that?
I liked it.
Okay.
Yeah.
There is, of course, Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake and the famous wardrobe malfunction, which is the most, I think, still rewound segment on television.
TiVo did that thing where they said it's the most.
And I had a TiVo at the time, and you know what? I contributed to that number because I couldn't. Oh, there's The Weeknd in his Hall of Mirrors. That's how I looked during that.
I loved it.
That was that last year? I think that was last year, or was it the year before? Oh no, last year's was awesome. Last year's was Hip Hop's Legends in a little house that they built on the field. That was really good. That one was good. This one will not be as good.
See it's good when the artist is like, I'm going to be playing to I'm doing a 10-minute arena show. I'm doing a live arena show.
But
it's less good when it's like we're going to build a video set in the middle of the field, and we're basically doing a really expensive like live performance of the VMAs. So it's like, no, don't do that. Feed off the energy and have the energy feed you. That's going to be.
Every time I see them, all I think is, as someone who does live events and has to load in and load out, I'm like, that's really hard.
Oh yeah, can you imagine? They rolled
going on my head like
they rolled a house onto the field, and then for some reason 50 Cent was hanging upside down from the ceiling, and Snoop Dogg rose up through the. It was crazy. It was wild. Eminem.
The pounds per inch allowed on the set on the field is like in the requirements. Like, like you can't
damage the field.
You can't damage the field. The field takes a year to develop. And they start growing it literally a year ahead of time, and they're pretty picky about it. And so the requirements that go into that are just insane. And so, but it's they've only lost power once.
I was at that. Super Bowl.
Were you at it?
I was at the Superdome in New Orleans.
That's 10 years ago. Like in a couple of days.
For every live streamer, that's the get out of jail free card, which is you can use it once as a mulligan, which is even the Super Bowl lost power.
Yes. It actually helped the Niners. The Niners came back after the power outage. But Beyonce was the Super Bowl halftime. It wasn't the greatest show I've ever seen, but Destiny's Child. So that's one of the things you do. I mean, it's Rihanna, but it's not just Rihanna. And eventually we'll start to learn Elvis Presley is going to show up as well, and Frank Sinatra or something. So it'll make it like a bigger deal than it already is, right? Because they got to get everybody. They got to get America. They got to get Hank Williams Jr. or somebody too. You got to get the whole demographic.
Are you ready for some football?
Yes.
But I think that the
asking the musical question, are you ready for some football?
Are you ready for some?
For some reason I want to see Hank Williams Jr. yell at and then just cut to a guy going, indeed, so anyway,
okay, you got your
impeccable timing, Harold. Impeccable timing.
So
Harold.
one of the things, of course,
to bring us back to Apple,
yes,
that this is just the beginning. If Apple got this in a multi-year, purchase, we're assuming that we're going to start seeing AR and so on and so forth. This is the beginning. MLS becomes a training ground. The Super Bowl becomes a place where you start adding AR, you start adding things that you're going to, that are going to build around it. It's super. I mean, and if you're talking about like launching a headset, even if not everyone can have it, for the people who have it, proving what you can do, there'll be, Apple will spend a lot of money on the AR and VR solutions that you might have around this.
This is going to be wild.
Intense.
That's, of course,
huge.
You can see just even from everything I just described, Apple's seeing this as a massive marketing opportunity. It also means there will be at least one, probably many Apple ads in the Super Bowl, right? Very famously, Apple's 1984 ad debuted and played only once nationally on the Super Bowl to introduce the Macintosh back in 1984. They haven't. Do they? I can't remember. Do they always have Super Bowl?
I think they run basic ads. I don't think they do. I don't think they do anything
special
crazy.
Ads.
They don't.
Like some.
They don't
companies.
go crazy. I mean,
yeah.
And then the new thing now in the Super Bowl is to run a short ad in the Super Bowl, but tell people that there's a longer version.
Yeah.
Like my favorite ad, which is incredibly ironic. The most ironic ad ever made is the FTX Larry David one, which is that you can trust us. You can trust us. Everybody says no, and it's literally my favorite ad ever made. And I'm not a big fan of Curb Your Enthusiasm, but for some reason it was like, it doesn't work.
And what's funny is
there was a 2.5 minute.
There's a really long version. I saw.
Which is great.
Because when Larry David got sued over this ad, but he's being sued because he's recommended FTX, which it turned out was a Ponzi scheme.
But here's the thing.
Larry David
never recommended his get out of jail free card. He said it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Like he was in the ad and the whole time is like, he said, I know these things. He said I don't know how you could sue Larry David for it, because in the whole ad and every iteration, he says it's not going to work. If I was his lawyer,
I would get. He said, "What do you say? Recommendation? I hate this. It's not, I told you not to do it. I was right."
Yeah.
Also, what's the over under on a special video from Ted Lasso introducing the halftime show?
There you go.
Yeah.
Nope, that's like even money.
So we need a new bingo card. We need a bingo card for Super Bowl Lovey and Apple's like marketing in there, because it's going to be. We're actually, when I thought briefly for one brief shining moment that there might be a 49ers appearance in the Super Bowl, I moved all of our Sunday shows to Saturday. So. But I'm stuck with it now. I don't want to watch those guys. Oh, it'll be fun. I want to see Rihanna. Anyway, TWiT and Ask the Tech Guys will be on Saturday, February 11th, so that we can cry into our beer on Sunday, February 12th, during Super Bowl Lovey.
Yeah. No, but I admit that at this point, it used to be you'd maybe watch it for the game, and then you quickly got tired of that. Then you'd watch for the commercials, and then of course the ad business realized that we enjoy the commercials, and they ruined it by making it by exploiting that way too and taking all the fun out of it. Now I actually really do enjoy like the halftime show, because it's one of those super, super rare times where you see truly live performance, where if something screws up, you got to go forward. You can't redo it. You can't, you can cut away, but whatever happens. And if it rains right in the middle of Prince's set, and you're wondering how those dancers are going to continue to dance in their stiletto heels, and if the most incredible funk fusion guitarist is going to be electrocuted in a live performance, that's what's going to happen.
You want to watch it. You don't want to miss it. It's what everybody will be talking about around the water cooler the next day.
It's amazing. You ever watch, like they have like some of the like before the Super Bowl realized that the halftime show could be a musical extravaganza, when it was really just let's have something to fill time like between the two halves that would maybe sort of entertain the people who were in the stadium. There was like this absolute dumpster fire of a show where they had like a stage magician do this musical number about magic, and none of the magic tricks they did in the middle of the stadium worked at all. And it was just, oh my God. And everyone in the booth was like, well, no one's watching this. Thank God. Thank God we didn't actually like risk anybody's reputation on this. It is such a it's such a weird thing to watch these these early 1980s Super Bowl shows, because they're like, okay, they have not figured that out yet.
Yeah. It's funny. I mean, even the graphics on old football games are so horrible. They're so terrible.
They make the TV buzz whenever they come on.
I wonder if we're going to look back 20 years from now when it's Apple presents Super Bowl, whatever LLL. If we will look back on these and say, well, those are funky. It feels like they're pretty good. But it will be in 4K. You
can't even choose the camera angle. Ha ha ha.
Fox has been doing the playoffs in 4K. I've been watching them in 4K on YouTube TV. It's an upscaled 1080p signal, but it's still the best signal you've ever seen for a football game. It looks.
And I will say, Fox, YouTube's come a long way. Like when they first started, it was pretty. YouTube TV football was pretty choppy. It was.
Oh no, I remember.
I was like,
it was unwatchable.
I don't know if this is gonna work. And now it just, when I turn it on, it just looks like TV. Like it's really come, in the last, I don't know, 3 years or 4 years. I got into it almost immediately.
I could cord cut at this point. It's basically, and it costs as much. And that's the good news. It costs as much as cable.
It's better than cable ever was. I mean, it's better than cable ever was, though. I mean,
the DVR.
I record, I don't know how many hundreds of shows, because I just go record all of this into the future.
Yeah.
And because I do it for like lower thirds and super sources and sweeper research, so I'm going to go back and look at things, but I never know what I'm going to look at. And then when great pieces of 60 Minutes surprise us, because there's only been like 6 of them in the last 20 years, I can still go find it.
We were texting back and forth last week, and you said you got to see the Rick Rubin piece on 60 Minutes. I went to YouTube and they had little snippets, but they didn't have the whole piece. And then I went, I've been DVRing 60 Minutes for the last 20 years. Yes. I could just look on YouTube TV, and there it was. And I watched the whole thing in its entirety, which was, I agree with you, a really interesting piece about the weirdest record producer ever, Well, maybe no, I can't say that because Phil Spector was in there too. So
just getting Johnny Cash back into the recording studio and saying, do whatever your remit is. Record whatever songs you want. We will have people standing by if you can just basically play and sing whatever you want. That opened the gates to heaven for him. Doesn't matter how many murders he committed.
He says,
in the previous life.
I later looked it up. He said he went to a dive bar and there were like a couple hundred people watching Johnny Cash, like whose career was over basically. And he said, this guy's too good. And he said, Johnny, and he got him on, I don't think he got him on Def Jam, but he got him on some label he was running. And he said, I think the first song he did was Trent Reznor's Hurt.
Yeah.
And it was mind-boggling.
Right. That's so classic Rick Rubin though. I went and then we found the song from Nine Inch Nails. Like who thinks that Nine Inch Nails is something that would go well with Johnny Cash? And his version is,
it's definitive.
Johnny Cash tells a story about how, like, as soon as he got his offer, his response was like, I want to record every song that I've never been able to record before I die. And Hurt was actually, Rick Rubin would send him tapes to sort of suggest songs that would also be good. And he would have to, he tells a story about how he kept putting it on the tape more again and again and again. And then after like, he would put like Hurt #1 on the tape again and again and again. Yeah,
but he was right. Oh my God, if you haven't heard, and then of course it made Johnny Cash hip all over again, and it really made him bigger than he'd ever been, frankly.
And you can hear it from the other side if you watch, if you go to Netflix and watch Song Exploder, has Trent Reznor talking because they cover Song Exploder talks about Hurt and Trent Reznor talks about the experience of Johnny Cash playing his song. So that's the whole, like, there's a lot of
if you haven't heard
that's one of the most amazing ones.
If you haven't heard it, listen to it, but listen
both
to the recording because it's late in Johnny's life. I think he's ill.
Yeah.
It is profoundly moving. You hear the hurt in his voice. It's profoundly moving.
It's the difference between a young man singing that line and an old man who sounds like he's close to not dying but close to the end. He's like, I hurt myself today just so I could feel, and talk about everyone I've loved goes away in the end. Like, okay, I'm 83. Everyone I've loved has died before me. I'm alone right now, and you're like, oh my God,
man. Hey, speaking of music, Jim Dalrymple is now on Mastodon. If you want to follow him. Very pleased to see him. J. Dalrymple at mastodon.social. I immediately followed him when this was reported by our IRC. And Phil Schiller has confirmed, yep, that's me on Mastodon. Phil Schiller, the former chief marketing officer at Apple, who's still an Apple fellow, left Twitter a few months ago in a huff, as did I. And it is indeed his account, not somebody posing as P. Schiller at mastodon.social. They're all going to mastodon.social, which probably is not the first place I would go these days. It's so big. In fact, it was just got DDoSed. If you are a TWiT listener, you can, of course, go to our Mastodon and follow all of these characters. That is twit.social. But do say something like, I heard you mention it on MacBreak, because I'm not letting people in who don't show that they are listeners, because I want it to be a community of TWiT listeners particularly. He says, I am an Apple Fellow, Illumina Director, Boston College Trustee, and Bowdoin Trustee. I love to scuba dive. I drum to prog rock. I drive sports cars, shoot photos, play games, and read sci-fi. How could you doubt that that's the real Phil Schiller?
Yep.
And he has, what's his name? Is that Johnny Bravo? Who is that? Throwing a boomerang on his, as his, but we have to explain to him how he would have solved a lot of, who is that? He would have solved a lot of question marks about his reality if he had just used Mastodon's very nice system of validating yourself.
But how do you do that? How do you go to the person who is in charge of the leadership pages at apple.com
Probably
and say,
can't do it there.
I need you to add a mastodon.social link, please?
But I'm guessing he could do it at Illumina or the Schiller Institute at Boston College. He probably could go to the Schiller Institute and say, could you put rel.me in there and that link next to my name? That's all you have to do then it turns green, then people know it's you. Anyway, he's verified it to 9 to 5 and others. He's not the most interesting person on Mastodon, but, what the hell. Hey, everybody, it's Leo Laporte, the founder and host of many of the TWiT podcasts. I don't normally talk to you about advertising, but I want to take a moment to do that right now. Our mission statement at TWiT, we're dedicated to building a highly engaged community of tech enthusiasts, that's our audience, and you, I guess, since you're listening, by offering them the knowledge they need to understand and use technology in today's world. To do that, we also create partnerships with trusted brands and make important introductions between them and our audience. It's how we finance our podcasts, but it's also, and our audience tells us this all the time, a part of the service we offer. It's a valued bit of information for our audience members. They want to know about great brands like yours. So can we help you by introducing you to our highly qualified audience? And boy, you get a lot with advertising on the TWiT podcasts. Partnering with TWiT means you're going to get, if I may say so humbly, the gold standard in podcast advertising. And we throw in a lot of valuable services. You get a full service continuity team supporting everything from copywriting to graphic design. I don't think anybody else does this or does this as well as we do. You get ads that are embedded in our content that are unique every time. I read them, our hosts read them. We always over-deliver on impressions. And frankly, we're here to talk about your product. So we really give our listeners a great introduction to what you offer. We've got onboarding services, ad tech with pod sites that's free for direct clients. We give you a lot of reporting so you know who saw your advertisement. You'll even know how many responded by going to your website. We'll also give you courtesy commercials that you can share across social media and landing pages. We think these are really valuable. People like me and our other hosts talking about your product sincerely and informationally, those are incredibly valuable. You also get other free goodies, mentions in our weekly newsletter that's sent out to thousands of fans. We give bonus ads to people who buy a significant amount of advertising. You'll get social media promotion too. But let me tell you, we are looking for an advertising partner that's going to be with us long term. Visit twit.tv/advertise. Check out our partner testimonials. Tim Broom, founder of IT Pro TV. They started IT Pro TV in 2013, immediately started advertising with us, and grew that company to a really amazing success. Hundreds of thousands of ongoing customers. They've been on our network for more than 10 years, and they say, and I'll quote Tim, "We would not be where we are today without the TWiT network." That's just one example. Mark McCrary, who's the CEO of Authentic, he was actually one of the first people to buy ads on our network. He's been with us for 16 years. He said, and I'm quoting, "The feedback from many advertisers over those 16 years across a range of product categories is that if ads and podcasts are going to work for a brand, they're going to work on TWiT shows." I'm proud to say that the ads we do over-deliver. They work really well because they're honest. They have integrity. Our audience trusts us, and we say, this is a great product. They believe it. They listen. Our listeners are highly intelligent. They're heavily engaged. They're tech-savvy. They're dedicated to our network. And that's partly because we only work with high-integrity partners that we have thoroughly and personally vetted. I approve every single advertiser on the network. If you're ready to elevate your brand and you've got a great product, I want you to reach out to us. Advertise at twit.tv. So I want you to break out of the advertising norm, grow your brand with host-read, authentic ads on twit.tv. Visit twit.tv/advertise for more details or email us advertise@twit.tv if you're ready to launch your campaign now. All right, what else is going on in the world of Apple? Anything? So we do, a couple things that were left hanging. Apparently, it is the case that the smallest hard drive on the new Mac Mini and the MacBook Pros are, in fact, slower, but they're still pretty fast. So,
and I just don't think it matters. I think that you're not buying a 256. I'm saying this as someone who bought the 256 8 gig one. I don't care about the hard drive space.
Yeah.
So it's not a real issue for me or hard drive speed, because I have a USB-C on if you're buying 256 gigs, this is application and system software, nothing else. Like that's what you're putting on it. The speed of it, you're not writing video files to it. You're not writing other things to it. You're using it as a node. You're bringing that in. So I think that's the real issue. As someone who bought it knowing that it would be slower, I don't think it matters. And so I think it's not
apparently it's because it uses a single NAND chip.
Right.
And so it's like RAID. If you have two, you can stripe or something, I guess. I don't know.
I would have liked them to disclose this just because, even though I do think that, everybody's making a big deal out of this and it's actually not that impressive and not that important in terms of your regular user and the people who are buying these configurations, not disclosing it feels like they're trying to get away with something. However, I do wonder if they are not disclosing it because of pure production issues, which is, what if they decide at any point in the process that they can get their hands on more 128 chips than 256 chips, and they start manufacturing some of them with two 128s instead of one 256,
then it'll be faster.
Right? Like,
yeah.
Then those would be faster, but it would be completely unlabeled. And like, there is at some point down in the stack, you were down at supply chain configuration details that the manufacturer doesn't want to talk about. And however, Apple is so scrutinized, and the fact is that there is a tangible difference, even if it isn't super relevant, that it would have been nice. I mean, honestly, it fits into the whole idea, right? You pay more to get more. These are on the lowest end systems, so they could disclaim it and say, these may be slower. This one's good, but that one is great, and do it that way. And more disclosure if you're Apple, I think is a good thing. But this is also, people are making a way bigger deal of this than they should.
Yeah,
it's silly. So 256. Just go one step up if you're buying a mini. If you're buying a MacBook Pro, go one step up from the 512 and you'll get the faster speeds. This is the Blackmagic disk read test. This is from 9 to 5 Mac. On the left, the M1 MacBook Pro. On the right, the M2 MacBook Pro. You see, it's a little slower than the M1. Oh, gosh, it's only 3 gigabytes a second. Oh, golly gosh. Fine. I don't think it makes that much of a difference. It's pretty darn fast. But yeah, and you're the one who told us, Alex, that if you are going to use, edit video or whatever, get a lot of onboard drive, because that's going to be the fastest drive, faster than a Thunderbolt 4 external drive, the fastest drive you can get.
Yeah, the only thing that matches it is the iodine.io. Iodine makes an external drive that uses 2 Thunderbolts.
Oh, interesting.
into your computer. I'm hoping to test it sometime in the near future, but I haven't tested it. But it should do 5 gigs a second read and about 1.8 write, which would be about similar to the internal one. So that's the only option if you're not going to get more storage on your studio. Yeah, and it's if you're doing what I was doing, which was what I do is 6 channels of 6K Blackmagic RAW and Resolve. I haven't found anything under about 5 gigs a second that will play that back smoothly. so that's the challenge.
Yeah. There has long been a Cold War between Apple and Google over phones. Steve Jobs basically said the Google Android operating system was a stolen product that copied iOS. Steve declared thermonuclear war, literally. He used that term against Google. That Cold War has cooled off quite a bit. But interesting article from Financial Times repeated in Ars Technica about Apple beefing up its smartphone services to gradually compete more and more with Google. They don't like it that people use Google Maps on an iPhone or Google Search on Safari. So they are slowly improving their services so that you won't. Improving Apple Maps so you don't use Google Maps. Business Connect, which Apple announced earlier this month, a feature that lets companies claim their digital location, much like Google Business does. That's a new feature.
I have to say that when I got my new phone, I just kind of let it be Apple Maps for a little while because I always use Google Maps up until, when I got this last phone. And I just was like, I'm just going to live in the Apple Maps world for a while. And then a week ago, I put Google Maps on for some, just okay, now what it feels like. And I actually hate to say it, but I actually like the Apple Maps better now. I mean, they've actually just the way it obviously it's tied into the OS. It makes it a little easier to work with, but also I just find it more visually pleasing, than what I was, than Google Maps. And it's a little bit more responsive. It's just as accurate as Google Maps.
That's the key.
I don't find
that's
they
the key.
fixed the accuracy.
If it were less accurate, you wouldn't use it. But as long as that feature is the same, then choose the one you like, right?
Exactly. And I think that right now the last number I saw was like 65% somewhere between 60-65% of iPhone users use Apple Maps because it comes with it
goes on my watch, for instance. So, when I'm driving, I don't have to look at the map. The watch tells me turn left, or I'm walking. I can look at my watch. There's a lot of little things that add up to supremacy if you're on an Apple device. And that's kind of what Apple's doing. Yeah. They still use, of course, Google search on Safari, and Google pays them a lot of money for that. Perhaps they're not willing to give up that money. But also, what else are they going to use?
I don't think it's about the money. I think it's just about building a search engine is hard. Like building a good search engine. And I don't think Apple has. I mean, it's nice that they get the money, but I don't think Apple is investing in. Maybe they are. I mean, with Siri, they're probably working on search tools, but I think that is such a. I mean, Google has that so wired in. It'd be almost impossible for Apple to achieve parity with Google search.
Yeah. According to this article from the Financial Times, Apple did acquire in 2013 something called Topsy Labs, a startup that indexed Twitter to enable searches and analytics. They say that's really the beginning of an Apple search team. In fact, you use Topsy every time you ask Siri for information. Well, that's not a very good recommendation. Never mind. They also in 2019 bought a company called LaserLike. This I did not know about, an artificial intelligence startup founded by former Google engineers that said its mission is delivering high quality information and diverse perspectives on any topic from the entire web. That sounds sort of like a search engine.
Yeah. It could be that Apple's isn't necessarily interested in taking over search from Google, but any time that you type into the search box something that Apple thinks that it can handle itself without farming it out to Google, without necessarily giving it the benefit of its user data, I think that that's when a private Apple search engine will start to kick in, and Spotlight makes the entire system like 10 times better. I mean, I'm. To this day, I'm not really sure how app launchers work on the Mac because I still just use Spotlight to launch everything that I need to access. So having that integrated right into the desktop with a command space every time I go, that would be a nice value add without having to necessarily go through Google.
And let's not forget Google. We don't know, neither Google nor Apple discloses, but it's estimated Google pays Apple between $8 and $12 billion a year for the privilege of being the official search engine on Safari. That drives a lot, and it means Google makes more than that from those referrals. So,
but that might be ending too, because part of what the DOJ is on Google against is basically cutting these exclusive deals with companies like Apple to basically be the default search engine on as many platforms as possible. So it's possible that they could get Microsofted, where Google doesn't necessarily have to break things up. They don't necessarily have to divest anything, but they can no longer access some of its most lucrative tricks and most lucrative deals anymore, and that would create a great opening for either another company or for Apple's own search product.
Apple has extended Chinese censorship to Hong Kong now, and I'm sure this is at the behest of the Chinese government, which has been slowly closing the noose in on Hong Kong. Hong Kong Apple users say Safari briefly blocked GitLab because it's backed by Tencent. Safari aims to protect users from websites that may contain malware.
Hong Kong is contentious where it's China but not China, and so when you start to basically say that we will start to use the same blacklist that we use for mainland China in Hong Kong, that is a step, and that could be a provocation. So
I see what GitLab's not owned by Tencent, but they use the index that Tencent has, the block list, to block it. Tencent put GitLab on the block list because it, quote, contains misinformation, which I don't think is the case. It might contain VPN software. It's another Git. It's like GitHub. So interesting.
I mean, given that China has been walking back the deal they made when the British left Hong Kong, to basically say that it's going to belong to China, but Hong Kong will have a special sort of autonomy that won't be available to other cities in China, and they've been walking that back steadily over the past 5, 6, 7 years. This for Hong Kong activists. This is sad news, bad news, and reason for activism.
According to The Intercept, Apple has been using the 10-cent blacklist on devices registered in Hong Kong, but Apple removed the block on GitLab. GitLab access was subsequently restored. Apple has not officially commented. In fact, Apple, when The Intercept asked, referred them to 10-cent, which is a kind of a tacit acknowledgement that there's something.
Not at all shady.
All right, let's take a little break, and we're going to come back with your picks of the week. Our show today brought to you in great part by our great Club TWiT members. Club TWiT, which Lisa started almost 2 years ago, has grown greatly, and we really appreciate it, but we still have a long way to go to get to our goal of 5% of our audience. That's all. Right now, it's less than 1%. We'd love to get to 5% of our audience. That would mean that 5% of our audience was paying $7 a month to support what we do, to help bring you shows, to help us develop new shows. And what do you get for your $7 a month? Ad-free versions of everything we do, shows we don't put out elsewhere, like Hands on Macintosh, Micah Sargent's great show, or Hands on Windows by Paul Thurrott, the Untitled Linux Show with Jonathan Bennett, the Giz Wiz, the Giz Fizz with Dick T. Bartolo. We launched This Week in Space in the club, thanks to club members, and of course now it's a show that we do put out for everybody. That's the goal. But when a show's new and it can't generate revenue on its own, the Club TWiT members support it, and we really appreciate that. You also get, and I don't think this should be diminished in any way, because I think it's probably part of the best part of Club TWiT, access to our special Discord, our members-only Discord, which besides being full of animated GIFs, is actually a great place to hang out with geeks, talking about not just our shows, but everything other geeks are interested in, from anime to autos, fitness and gaming. Yes, we talk about sports and ham radio and sci-fi and science. I spend a lot of time in the coding channel over there. A lot of great, talented coders. We love to talk. I love to ask for help. There's just a lot of reasons why you might want to listen to Captain James T. Kirk and join us. All you have to do, go to twit.tv/clubtwit, twit.tv/clubtwit. $7 a month, $84 a year. There are corporate memberships as well. But we really appreciate all of our Club TWiT members. They're great people. They've really helped us out a lot, and we would love you to join the group because it's a lot of fun. Thank you, Jason Snell, for that GIF. Science.
I was on This Week in Space this week in space.
You were?
So yeah.
What were you talking about?
It was fun. We talked about favorite books, and fiction and nonfiction about space, which was a really good conversation. I used to do a space podcast, and I haven't done one for. We will only do it occasionally now, and so it was kind of fun to be on a space podcast again.
Rod
stuff.
Pyle,
those guys,
who's fantastic from.
Those guys know their stuff. Wow, I was very impressed.
They're real fans. Rod worked at PR at JPL. He's now editor-in-chief for Ad Astra, which is the official publication of the National Space Society, and Tarek Malik from editor-in-chief for Space.com. So it's really two people who really do. I mean, this is what they do for a living, is they cover space, and so it makes it a great show. We are going to be adding video to that soon, I think. So that was a good example of what happens.
We did ours as video, so I think it's in the works.
Oh, good.
It's in the works.
Oh, nice. Yeah, they always use video, and that's why it won't be so hard for us to turn the switch and put out a video podcast. They always use it to see each other and see their guests. Coming up, by the way, Daniel Suarez will be on This Week in Space. He is, of course, the author of Demon and Freedom, and we're going to do an interview about his new book, which just came out today. Very excited. Critical Mass, which is a follow-up to Delta V. Daniel's one of my favorite sci-fi authors, and he's also a space fanatic and a real promoter of why we should be going in manned space missions. And so he wanted to get on This Week in Space and talk about Mars and talk about manned space missions. So, and then Daniel will join us February 10th for a special triangulation. And there will be a club aspect to that. Club members will get to ask him questions directly. We'll have a feed into the club when we record that. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
I don't want to be the language police, Leo, but we call them crewed space missions now, not manned.
Yes.
Oh, I guess you're right. It should be crewed, shouldn't it?
Yeah,
Okay.
NASA changed that I think it was actually a while ago.
Do you spell that CROOD or CRUDE?
You can spell it however you want, but I think it's EWED is what it's supposed to be. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Gosh, you're right. Thank you. I stand corrected.
Human spaceflight. Yes.
Yes.
But even that's got a man in it. Crewed is good.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Except for the homonym. That's
Language is a problem.
Yeah, it is. It's a big problem.
But that is what NASA calls it. That's what.
What
that's
books
what they
did
use
you?
now.
Yeah, no, that's good. Thank you for correcting me. I'll use that from now on. What books did you recommend?
Oh man, there's so many good books. Like I recommended a bunch. Like there's the Apollo mission book that was the basis for From the Earth to the Moon, which is called A Man on the Moon by Andy Chaikin.
Yeah.
There's a book called Bringing Columbia Home, which is it's kind of dark, but it's also kind of beautiful. It's about the people who were tasked with picking up all the wreckage and remains after Columbia crashed in Texas and Louisiana, and the people who volunteered to do that, and the sort of emotional toll, but also why it was important. It's so good. And then there was a book, I wish I could remember the name, but there's a book by it's about the first space shuttle mission, which when I watched it as a kid, it went off without a hitch. Ha ha ha. The book reveals it went off with so many hitches. They had to use a secret spy satellite. There's some cloak and dagger stuff in there where they couldn't get access to the spy satellite photos because the existence of the satellite was classified.
Wow.
But they did. And there was like a man who will not be named entered an empty room and placed an envelope on a table and then would not leave until the envelope was back in his hands. But he allowed them to look at the pictures. Just some great stories about that too. So it's people should check it out. That I'm trying to look up what that book is, but
you know what? The best way to do
episode.
this: listen to the latest episode of This Week in Space.
That's the way to do it.
twit.tv/twist, and we might in fact have those links in the show notes.
Paste into the Discord too. I want to see it.
Yeah, it sounds really good. Time for our picks of the week. I don't usually do a pick of the week, but this was, and it's kind of a minor pick of the week, but I thought this was really cool. These are SVG icons that were extracted from the 30th anniversary Mac font. So because of the date of the font, it doesn't go past 19. What is the most recent one? 2012. Actually, they have the trash can Mac, although that is not a great icon. It's just basically rounded corner square.
I could have done that.
Yeah. But there wasn't much to say about the trash can Mac, I guess. But these are pretty cool. You can download them. They're for free. rnightuk.github.io, but we'll put a link in the show notes. You could also Google Mac 30th Anniversary Icons by Rob Knight. All artwork owned by Apple. But you know what? On the 40th anniversary of the Macintosh XL, which looks a lot like a Lisa, the 2CX, the 2FX, too effing expensive, and some others. Some of these were really ugly. Some of them were just not felicitous designs. Yeah. But they're all there.
Those were the days. That's when Andy and I were working at Mac User Magazine, and Apple was coming up with a increasingly ugly series of computers.
There was a lot of wandering in the desert, like between Frog Design and 97.
90s Apple was so weird. Oh, boy.
Yeah. There's the 90s. Ugh. You know, the icons
had that one
really
Power Mac with a giant forehead that was like, puffy.
The pulled tooth G3.
The Molar Mac. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, you guys even had nicknames for him.
Oh, yeah.
Loving nicknames because we love the design. Yeah, well.
Which one's the pulled tooth? This one, the Color Classic?
It's the Power Macintosh G3 all-in-one.
Oh, God.
Which was like a predecessor to the iMac, and in fact, it was designed by Johnny Ive.
You're kidding.
It's got some very weird. The rumor is that the curve on the top of the box, because it's an all-in-one, so it's got a monitor in it.
Yeah.
But it's a CRT. was based on Johnny Ive's girlfriend's back.
Jeez Louise.
But it had a little translucent plastic.
The most beautiful back.
It's a perfect
curve.
Anyway, it has translucent plastic on it. You can see Johnny Ive crying for help, trying to get out of 90s Apple. But the computer itself, it looks like a big pulled tooth. It's blah.
Oh, I get it. It's not that it's missing a tooth on the front of it.
Oh, right.
It looks like a pulled tooth.
No, it's a molar.
An extracted molar.
It's a molar. It's the molar Mac.
Because it had that creamy white color.
There's that molar.
How ugly. I never saw this, I don't think. Jeez.
Oh, it's so bad.
That is really hideous.
They're all so bad.
It does look like Johnny Ive's back, though, on the top there. That's true. Her scapulas. Her prominent scapulas inspired me to design this ugly Mac. Jesus. Anyway, that's my pick. How about yours, Jason Snell?
All right, I wanted to pick, I'm going to get a little nerdy here, but it's codeless nerdy. So it's actually, if you're somebody who fancies yourself a power user, but you're not necessarily comfortable being a programmer, this is a web app that I love. It does cost, it's free to try, and then depending on how much of it you use, you can pay, I think I'm paying like $10 a month for it, but it's a make.com, formerly called Integromat. I wonder why they changed its name.
Integromat. Perfect for the G3 Power Macintosh.
So it's
they made enough money to buy make.com.
Make.com, it's codeless.
Make.com used to be O'Reilly's magazine.
Recipes.
I think when the magazine went out of business, they snagged the
something like that. So it's a little like If This Then That. It's that kind of thing. It is codeless.
But it's nodal.
Web recipes, little blobs that you connect together that will let you do anything. So what am I doing with this? I have a bot that posts to my Incomparable members when we're about to start a live stream. I have a bot that posts the new episodes of my podcast to Twitter and Mastodon. I know that I think one of the big social media sites just added support for Mastodon, and it's like I built my Mastodon bot like 2 weeks ago in make.com.
So do you have to run it in the background, or does it web host?
No, you set it up to run, and it'll do things like watch an RSS feed or wait for a tweet from a certain account. So your Mac has
to stay on to do that, though, right?
No. It's a web app, so it's running in the cloud. So you just build them on your Mac, and then it runs in the cloud, Mac or PC or iPad or whatever, and it runs in the cloud. So I've got it doing all sorts of stuff like this.
So it's like Zapier or If This Then That, but it's like got Zapier. A really nice user interface.
It's really good, and it has a level of, I mean, all of those, there is an expert mode where you can get your hands dirty, but I was very impressed at how easy some of the expert stuff actually works in make.com.
And I always look at the integrations because I want to know, well, what can I interface with? This actually looks like it has a very complete set, 1,380 integrations that you can, including Mastodon, which is nice.
Plus webhook and HTTP, which will get you literally anything on the web.
Nice.
So it's really good.
Wow, this is great.
And you can you can start for free, and then if you want to use it a lot, you pay.
They were a sponsor, but I paid for them for years. I also pay for If This Then That because they stopped being free. Maybe I should cancel those and just go to this.
See if it works for you. I love it. I think it's really good.
I have a lot of scripts we use. I have a ton of scripts on Zapier.
I really think that the no-code, low-code revolution is coming.
It's coming.
You're seeing all these things pop in. I really think that there's a huge gap between the shortcuts and Swift playgrounds that wants to be filled with some kind of nodal solution. But I think that between now and then, whenever that happens, I think that all of these no code, low code just let people who are just have something they need to get done and don't want to learn how to build, don't want to learn how to do coding structures. Let them put stuff together. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Thank you for the recommendation. Make.com. Mr. Andy Ihnatko, how about you? What you got for us?
I got two free apps that I really, really love. They're both by a developer by the name of Rafael Conde, and they're exactly the sort of apps that I love to find and I love to recommend because they do like one thing that is really, really useful, and they do it really, really beautifully. The first app is called HiDock, and all it does is, the dock has only one setting, and ignores the fact that sometimes you have your MacBook, and then sometimes you take your MacBook home, you've got it plugged into an external display, and you've got 2 displays. Sometimes you might have it hooked up to an external display, and you're not using the main display. HiDock will simply let you define, look, when it's just the built-in display, for instance, I want the dock to be visible, but at the bottom. If I'm just using the external display, I want it off to the left side, but I want the icons to be really, really big. If I'm using both of them, I'll be off to the right, and I want them really, really tiny, and it will just do that switch for you automatically, depending on, again, do you have just built-in display, the external display, or do you have multiple displays going in? And it's just an app. You don't need to install extensions. You don't need to corrupt your system or anything like that. It just plain works. And there's also a menulet, so that if you want to trigger these things through the menu bar, you can do that as well. And it works really, really great. And this one is free. The other one is, again, it's the dumbest thing. And you think that, okay, well, who would use this until you've got this on your menu bar? And then I find myself using it. It's called HandMirror, and it puts an icon of a hand mirror in your menu bar. And all it does when you click on it is that it activates your selected camera and lets you take a look at yourself to check to make sure that your hair is okay before you go on a chat, or to check your camera before you go on a chat. And for that feature, it's absolutely free. And again, it's so useful, because I used to launch a different app when I wanted to do that. Like, I want to check, make sure that my lighting is okay, that I'm framed okay before I do a chat. And now I just have this thing that just click it, and it puts this little pop-up up. As a matter of fact, if you spend $5 for the HandMirror Plus, the hot zone to activate it can also be the notch in your brand new MacBook, which I think is a really clever use of the notch. And it also, if you go for the Plus version, it's also very useful for, let's say that you're in a chat app that doesn't let you basically see yourself while you're in that chat. You can have this thing, whatever size you want, whatever shape window you want. Conceivably, you could do it if you want to do like a live stream, and you're basically capturing the video that's coming out of your Mac. So now basically you have your own inset window, whatever size and shape you want, wherever you want it on the screen.
So
it'll be sticky right there.
Nice.
Yeah, so it'll just be overlaid on whatever you do. But the free version is, again, useful enough when you just want to know, okay, have I adjusted the partition enough so that they can't see the cardboard boxes just behind it of all the clothes I'm supposed to be donating to Goodwill.
I always like to make the gear look like a halo when I'm doing the show.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want that. Yeah. You know what's weird? I'm doing this on Linux, but they simulate a Macintosh by putting a fake Mac menu up there, and I tap it, and it actually works. I had to give it permission and everything. I know, isn't that hysterical? Works on Linux. Well, only the website does. I love it that you can finally do something with the notch. So you mean if you move your mouse into the notch, it will activate it?
I don't have one, so I can't try it. I believe that if you move your mouse into the notch area and click, that activates the HandMirror.
I'm glad that we can
obviously
do that.
and specifically the selfie camera that's inside that thing. It doesn't seem the UI. I haven't installed the UI. Doesn't seem to let you choose specifically what camera you're.
So I couldn't use
choose
other cameras.
But well, I don't know. I mean, it seems to, whenever I use it, it uses whatever the selected camera is. Whatever the active camera is, like that I'm using right now. So
he says, why not use Photo Booth? He says, that's exactly what I was doing. But sometimes it would open photos by accident, or I'd open Photo Booth so much that if I typed "photo" in Spotlight, it would default to Photo Booth, and that's not what I wanted. So that's a good reason to write an app. That's a simple, good reason to write an app.
Yep. And both of those things, like, again, HandMirror Plus is $5. For HiDock, it's free in the webpage for it. He just says, if you really want to pay for it, well, buy HandMirror, because I've got actually something paid for that instead of just donating money. So it's great stuff. Again, not only is it just simple and useful, but it is a beautifully done little charm bracelet like Mac apps that I really, really love.
He writes a lot of apps. I love his website. If you go to rafa.design, let me refresh this so you can see it. He appears on the website, and gestures and stuff. That's cool. Rafael Conde. Nice.
And then when you scroll, like, of course, everything gets grayed out in his name except for Rafa. So it's like, oh man, why isn't my blog like 1/100th as cool as this?
This is somebody who knows what he's doing here. Yeah. In the old CSS department, if you know what I mean. Apparently also has, well, I won't talk about some of his other apps, but
yeah, there are a couple that are, Yeah.
A little safe cracking app. This guy's really cool. Really cool. Yeah. Rafa.design, and the app is called HandMirror. Did he also do HiDock?
Yep, and HiDock. He made both of these. Yeah.
He likes to write small utilities. I like that.
Yep.
It's very useful. Alex Lindsay, pick of the week time.
So we were talking about this earlier, and I don't usually recommend books, but this one is really good. This is we were talking about Rick Rubin in the past, and I downloaded The Creative Act: A Way of Being, which is the book that he was promoting, I think, to be on 60 Minutes. You're like, why is he on 60 Minutes? Because he has a new book. And I love this. If you look at the link, he has a audiobook, a Kindle book, a hardcover, and a spiral bound.
Oh, that's the one I want.
Good for him.
Yeah, so great. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm about halfway through the book, and I just have to say it's just really great. Like, good enough that, so I listen to most of my books as just pure protein, 2x. Just I just want to suck in all the information that's in the book because I don't really do fiction. And this one I slowed down. I slowed it down to 1.5, and I was like, it still feels a little rushed. Slowed down to 1.2. I was like, I don't think I'm getting it. And then I had to go down to 1. So just to be at 1, it's not that he talks fast. It's just that it just feels like you should be listening to this one at 1x and just kind of, just sifting it in and really, playing with it. If you want to explore creativity, because he's just talking about all people being artists, all people being like a receiver for things, he's really talking about being a receiver of ideas, not so much a creator. I mean, like you're a creator, but you're funneling that through and seeing how you're doing that. And the good introduction to this book is to watch that 60 Minutes, which again, I think is probably one of the top 5 60 minute segments. I used to watch it all the time. Haven't watched very much of it. I look at the subjects quickly, and then I go, no, I'm not going to watch that today. But every once in a while, I see one that I want to see, and usually I'm disappointed. This one was. I felt like this 60 Minutes was a great, a great 15 minutes with Rick Rubin, and got me excited about buying the book. And then I bought the book, and it was better than the 60 Minutes thing. So, really, really, really great book. I would highly recommend it. I'm probably going to end up sending it to some friends.
I'm thinking this would make a good Valentine's Day present for somebody in my life.
Yeah.
It's the only 60 Minutes interview you'll see that the interviewee gets the interviewer to meditate for a couple of minutes before the interview begins. And Anderson Cooper does it, and it's actually kind of cool.
And there's a point where Anderson Cooper goes, so what do you know how to play an instruments? He's like, no. Do you know how to use the big mixer? No. I have no, because I can't really seriously play anything. I can't use any of the hardware or anything else. And the thing that was so interesting about it is really just how he approaches this. Is I'm not trying to, Phil Spector was like, had a sound, right? The wall of sound and so on and so forth. He's like everywhere. Like he's doing rap. He started in rap, and then he's doing, Senegalese and pop and everything else because he's just interested in the person expressing themselves, and he's just listening. He's listening for them, not for him. And his it's just really, really interesting. And his book really digs into that a lot. And
he's very zen.
Very inspiring. Yeah. So it's a very inspiring book. So
I can't wait to read it. I just ordered it.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. So good. You want to listen to it at 1x. Says Alex Lindsay.
That's what they should put up there.
From Alex Lindsay. Oh my God. Yes.
It's the first book the first book I've listened to at 1x since there was a way to speed it up in Audible. like as soon as I found that, I was like, because I've been listening to cassettes since the late 80s. And so I've been listening to books for a long, long time. And when I remember Audible, I just saw this magic. Oh, I could speed this up. I could speed this up.
Lisa does the same thing. I can't take it. I can't
listen generally, other than this book. I cannot listen to it less than 1.5 because I think too many things in between.
Right.
So I need it to be running at speed, or I can't stay with it. Otherwise my mind wanders off because it's something it says. Then I go off into some squirrel,
Yeah. Lots of people listen to our shows at higher speeds. In fact, occasionally those people will come and listen to the show in person, and they'll say, "You all sound drunk." I say, "No, we're just talking normally. That's all." Alex Lindsay, officehours.global is the place to go to see what's up constantly, like literally constantly. We're putting great stuff on the stream. You can watch live. You can participate in the Zoom call, but it all starts at officehours.global. Time lapses today.
We're talking about time lapses and all the different ways of doing them and how to approach it and think about it. So
nice.
It's and the day before we were talking about pricing, so we talk about business as well. So some technical stuff. Also, we were talking about space in the Gray Matter show. This is Michael Krasny's show. We had Vienna Tran talking about health in space, and the body, how the body responds to space, to being in space for a long period of time. So that's another little hobby of mine.
Oh, nice. The Gray Matter
show.
I have been on it. It is a great show. Produced in the sub-basement of the former Lucas.
In the pit.
In the pit of the maker
it's called
space.
The pit. It literally was, the pit. So
the pit.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Thank you, Alex. And of course, if you want to hire him, 090.media. Mr. Andy Ihnatko, when is WGBH calling next?
I'm on a day early this week. I'm on Thursday at 1:10 in the afternoon Eastern time. Go to WGBHnews.org to listen to it live or later.
Very nice. And Mr. Jason Snell, sixcolors.com/Jason.
/Jason gets you everything. My writings at Six Colors, and I link to podcasts and stuff. And the Incomparable for your podcast pop culture fix. We got some great shows over there. Some friends of mine started a Last of Us podcast, watch-along podcast that's going great.
What do you think of that show? It's a show based on a video game. It's getting great reviews.
Yeah, it's really good. It's Craig Mazin, who did Chernobyl, which was one of the very best shows of a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And who does the Script Notes podcast with John August. He's a podcaster. I knew him as a podcaster before. I knew him as the guy who wrote Chernobyl and now The Last of Us. So
I confess, I've been avoiding it because I'm not a fan of the zombie genre. I feel like it's been overdone.
Did you see Station 11?
No.
Station 11, which is as warm-hearted an apocalypse show as you'll ever see, miniseries. The Last of Us is, it is kind of like The Walking Dead, but it's kind of filtered through a Station 11 kind of lens. It is more about the people than it is about the zombies. And so thus far, through 3 episodes, highly recommended. There are zombies there, but it really is about a broader existential threat and how we all deal with it and how we come together as people. And the latest episode was beautiful. One of the greatest standalone episodes of the last decade, probably, of any show.
Huh. I often thought of this show as being a warm-hearted apocalypse show, but now I know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the one after the Apple event pretty much is, yeah.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Andy.
Thanks,
Thank
Leo.
you, Alex. I apologize to everybody. This was a short show because there was literally no news. Oh, wait a minute. We took 2 hours of your time. Sorry. I hope you listened at double speed. We do a MacBreak Weekly every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1900 UTC. If you want the very freshest edition of MacBreak Weekly, you could watch it live. There's a live stream, audio and video there, live.twit.tv. I shouldn't promote that too hard because those don't really count as downloads, but you're welcome to. If you want to watch live, you might as well chat live with our fabulous IRC. Our IRC chat is at irc.twit.tv. Of course, Club Twit members have a little place they call home in our Discord. After the fact, if you want to listen at your own convenience, not in the middle of the day on a Tuesday, you can download it at twit.tv/mbw. There's audio and video there. You get your choice. There's also a YouTube channel dedicated to MacBreak Weekly. Great place to share clips and so forth. And probably the easiest way to do this is subscribe. You'll see some buttons there on the page. Just go to your favorite podcast client and subscribe. And that way you'll get it automatically, immediately, the minute it's available. Looks like we've got a couple of thumbnails now from artificial intelligence generators. That's cool. Our team is so great. They have so much fun.
Alex.
I'm thinking the tooth. Yeah, Alex sends us Mid-Journey images after the shows. I like that. You could do something with the tooth if you want, or the whatever they call it.
Molar.
The molar.
What should we do? The molar?
The molar.
Molar Mac. Oh, my God. Imagine the horrible images.
Power Mac G3.
Yeah.
Yeah, and mix that in with I don't
Molars.
know, Superbowl Lovey
with teeth,
and Rihanna, and you got something. You got something there. I don't know. I'm not telling you.
Rihanna, Gilligan's Island.
The G3 Mac Molar versus the Cavity Creeps, as drawn by Jack Kirby.
Okay, Wait. A good prompt.
Wait. What is this again? Oh wait, imagine. All right, what do we have here?
Imagine whatever the actual name of that product is.
Power Mac G3 all in one.
Power
in one.
Molar
G3
versus
all. Wait. I can't type that fast. All in one. Okay, go ahead.
Being fought by or fighting the Cavity Creeps.
Fighting the Cavity Creeps.
As drawn by Jack Kirby.
See, Leo, you don't want to go to Wordle.com.
Why is that?
You want to go to nytimes.com/game/Wordle.
-AR3.
And there's two colors.
Two colors. Don't go to Wordle.com because that's not it.
No, don't do it. It'll hack your computer.
There's
the key is.
What do the colors mean again?
So the key is audio style. Those are the first two words. I can never get less than three because
why audio style?
It is all of the vowels plus Y plus ST. So once you cut that down, I get it in 3 or 4 almost every single time.
I thought you were doing
voice.
I thought you were talking about Mid-Journey prompts.
Journey prompts.
That's the special hack.
Oh man.
I always do something like I did tears today. I always do something that's got the first few vowels. I like T's because ETAIONSHRDLU are the highest frequency letters in the English language. I like to put S at the end because I want to get that out of the way. If it's a plural, I hate it when they do that. But in this case,
did you hear about the Wheel of Fortune controversy where somebody, a contestant, like didn't guess it correctly because the category was like fun pastimes or something. And they didn't have it. And the answer was go out for a jog. And he said, that's not fun. I hate that. And he literally actually said that to Pat. And now there's an uproar saying, actually, that shouldn't have been the category. Nobody enjoys going out for a jog. What are you talking about?
Oh my God. And of course, there's a whole thing on Entertainment Tonight about it. Pat's up in arms, I tells you.
Scandal.
So outrage. I don't know where the G3 is in here, but here's the.
Oh wow, that's Jack Kirby, all right.
Yeah, Kirby Crackle.
I just don't see the G3, but it's
maybe in the head of the lower left hand one.
Okay.
They're not funny. See, the Cavity Creeps were a series of commercials for Crest that was actually like the storyboards the characters were designed by Jack Kirby. So
that's maybe too on the nose, you know.
Maybe 2 on the nose.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Hold on. Let's see. I did it. I ran it. Oh wait. Hold on. Stop the presses. We have another one here. Cut.
Wow. Look at that.
I think.
Oh, there's what's he holding there in the lower left?
Yeah,
there.
he's got a little bit of an all-in-one there. So I think that's
espresso machine.
It's got
something.
And that espresso does stain the teeth, so it's getting there.
Yeah, exactly.
This is actually a plug for the segment that Alex is going to do on Ask the Tech Guys on Sunday, explaining how he uses Midjourney to generate these amazing AI art. I think people increasingly are agreeing that Midjourney is the best of them of Stable.
Oh yeah, I think it's just the amount of people using it, and here's the thing that's different about Midjourney. It's the fact that there are so many people using it, which improves its solution, but they're trading so many notes. So that's the big thing is
Right.
that because you can see so much in the Discord community inside of Midjourney, you're seeing what everybody else is using as search terms. And so everybody's learning from each other at an incredible pace. And so I think the result is that you get better solutions. Anyway, I'll try to find one it
was one of the first that I played with, and I still am in the Discord, but I have to pay it now, I think, to take advantage of it. You can actually give them your picture and say, generate some headshots for me and things like that. So,
I'll show how to do that in the video.
Good.
All you really have to do is you just throw your video, you throw your own image into your. Well, if you have your own bot, you just throw it into the discussion and say use this link. But if you have your picture anywhere on the web, you can just say copy link, and then you put say imagine, then you put the link in, and then as whatever you want to do.
Wow. And it can do that with one image. It can do a pretty good job, huh?
That's a pretty good job. Yeah. I mean, with someone that has a bunch of stuff on the web, that has had stuff on the web, you can just say the name and it'll pick it up. Like there's definitely like social media folks generally have a lot of pictures on the web, and so it's already looked at those. So it can sometimes do better if you just put your name in, if you have enough photos.
So imagine Leo Laporte probably would.
Yeah, yours. I tried one with your images, and it was pretty much the same.
Yeah,
like it you don't need to upload.
I don't need to upload it. Yeah. Well, we'll look forward to that on Sunday. I can't wait. I want to learn how to use this. There's a guy who's spending a lot of energy working on a image of Batman in Havana, Cuba in 1959. And it's pretty fun, I have to say. This is what you see. You see what people are doing. You see what the prompt is, and you can learn from that, which is kind of cool. Yeah, I see the value of that.
Yeah, and the ones you'll get the beginner ones are okay, but if you go down to the ones that are like I'm in
newbies. I don't want to be in newbies.
If you get out of the newbies and go into like there's ones down, or there's a daily one, and then there's and then the ones down there where the folks that really are,
they know what they're doing.
They're really into it, and then you'll see these long search terms. And I think some of the search terms are kind of mythical. Like, I don't think that they actually do anything, but they put them in and they get great images.
Yeah, we don't know.
There's a little bit of a religion.
Yeah. There's a little magical thinking in that.
Yeah. But some of them obviously make a difference. And so you have to kind of play with them to figure out which ones are actually making a difference and which ones are just, they think that was doing, like when you put 8K in, I don't think it does anything. It doesn't write an 8K image or HDR, but if you put glam lighting in, it definitely makes a difference. So
you got to learn from you. That's who I got to learn from.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Andy.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jason. Have a wonderful week.
Everybody.
Thank you all for being here. I'm sorry to say it's time to go home because MacBreak is broke. No, wait a minute. That's the wrong one. You can't stay here. You got to... you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
MacBreak time. Time for you to go back to the podcast you already were in.
If you've been listening to us at half speed, turn up the volume.
Still here.
All right.
You're still here. Why are you still here?
Get back to break. Get back to work because break time is done.
It's over.
Bye.
Oh, hey, that's a really nice iPhone you have there. You totally picked the right color. Hey, since you do use an iPhone and maybe use an iPad or an Apple Watch or an Apple TV, well, you should check out iOS Today. It's a show that I, Micah Sargent, and my co-host Rosemary Orchard host every Tuesday right here on the TWiT network. It covers all things iOS, tvOS, HomePod OS, watchOS, iPad OS. It's all the OSs that Apple has on offer, and we love to give you tips and tricks about making the most of those devices, checking out great apps and services, and answering your tech questions. I hope you check it out.